Chapter 754. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan dealt with Yuan Rong's people. Yuan Rong didn't show any hostility. Instead, he gave Xiao Bei and the others a gift. He didn't apologize for offending Xiao Bei, nor did he mention that his people were hurt by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It was as if nothing had happened. In addition to making preparations for Li Longji's journey to Jinyang, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also had to set up a reception area in Jinyang. Usually, after the reception area was built, it would be put aside. Even if the emperor left, no one else could use it. Zhang Xiaobao also thought the same, so he needed to make arrangements there. This trip would cost about 200,000 to 300,000 string of coins. It wasn't a small amount. If they couldn't earn it back, they would lose money. We've already sent people out. We won't take the land route. There's a fun river that connects to the capital, so we can save a lot of money on the road. However, we need to build temporary rest areas every once in a while. I'm going to build the rest areas in the big garden. In order to earn back the money he spent, Zhang Xiaobao drew a picture on a piece of paper. It was the garden he was talking about. Wang Wan came over to take a look. No matter how she looked at it, she couldn't tell that it was a garden. It looked more like a big market. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao in confusion. How long do you think it will take to earn back the money you spent? Very soon. Look, when Li Longji comes, we'll plant more flowers. When he leaves, we'll remove the flowers and turn it into a market. In every place like this, we'll use iron chains to pull up a bridge. It's convenient for people on both sides to trade with each other. We'll collect a bridge fee. When others trade, we won't collect any fees. We won't even collect the market management fee. The price will be decided by the buyers and sellers. However, there's one thing. All the goods that come over must be seen by us before they're sold. We could buy them all directly. Zhang Xiaobao drew on the picture. He also drew a few flower pots and a hole in the ground. He meant to bury the pots and flowers in the ground. It would be convenient for them to go back and forth. Wang Wan thought for a moment and understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. Although it was said that the market price would not be affected once they had the right to buy first, as long as they controlled it a little, they could make the price of various items in the market fluctuate. They could control the quantity of goods and make a lot of money. She nodded and said, "This is feasible. What about the iron chain bridge? I estimate that 300,000 strings of coins won't be enough to repair the bridge fee. It's a long-term thing. It's better than nothing. At that time, there will be more merchants coming and going, and transportation will be convenient. At most, we can find someone to cooperate with. Our family can't take out too much money. When Li Longji goes to Jinyang for a tour, that's where the real money is. We'll protect the place where he stays, but in the name of letting him cultivate, we'll buy a larger area around it and build an artificial lake. We'll let people go there and see if there's a good place and lake there. We'll arrange the place where Li Longji stays. We won't let others stay in the courtyard where he stayed. No one will care about the other places. Even the emperor is willing to stay in a place where he stays. How many people will want to rest and play there? We'll build more inns and restaurants, and that place will gradually become prosperous. The main thing is that we can let people do business there with a little management fee. If they're willing to rent out the place, they can earn back the money they spent in less than 2 years. In the future, that place will become more and more profitable." Zhang Xiaobao told Wang Wan his idea, and then said, "We still have to think of a way to let Li Longji write a title or something, such as the world's #1 lake." "Well, I don't think that's possible. That small lake can't be the world's #1. Let's not talk about this for now. We'll think about it when the time comes. You're using Li Longji's name to get benefits for yourself." Wang Wan admitted that this celebrity effect would be good. People nowadays like things like being attached to others. For example, if someone wrote a good poem in a certain place, as the poem spread, that place would become famous, and many people would come because of it. Not to mention this time, it was the same at other times. Lu Sun wrote Kong Yi, and as a result, the fennel beans in Xianfeng Tavern became famous. Originally, it was something that could be eaten anywhere and didn't taste good, but it was sold at a high price. When the time came, Zhang Xiaobao would also specially cook a few side dishes in Jinyang, and then have someone make a story about it. After that, he would connect it with the emperor and spread it out. Then, He would find someone to write a few prepared poems in advance. Yeah, that would be amazing. He estimated that he would be able to earn back the money in 2 years. Jinyang was also a big place, and it was already prosperous enough. Who knew how much the land that was rented out would be sold? Thinking of this, Wang Wan reminded Zhang Xiaobao, "Don't forget about the ship. Li Longji's ship can't be closed off to others, right? At most, we'll leave his cabin open. The other places can still be used as a cruise ship. I think there will be a lot of people who are willing to go up and get some of the dragon's aura. I know. Make use of everything you can. Oh, and don't forget to send money and gifts to the people around Li Longji. Even if it's an errand eunuch or a guard, you have to take care of them. Who knows when you'll need them in the future." Zhang Xiaobao also had such plans. If the imperial court spent money directly, the money spent would become a one-time expense. Although this money would eventually fall into the hands of the people and officials, it wouldn't play a big role in the development of the local economy. If it were up to him to operate, not only would he be able to make money, but he would also provide a place for the people to exchange goods. Many of the things produced by the people couldn't be sold because of the lack of a place to buy and sell them. Some people lacked such goods, especially vegetables. It would be a pity to just throw them away. After the two of them were almost done with their discussion, they once again sent people to the front to make arrangements. Time was tight, and they only had half a month to prepare. The project was huge, and they needed to find a lot of people to help. The sky gradually darkened. Zhang Xiaobao started to cook for his younger siblings again. Xiaobei and the others were unwilling to just stay in the room. They were wearing the official robes of Miyu and were wandering back and forth in the courtyard behind Savant's restaurant. They were afraid that others wouldn't know that they were officials now. After wandering for a while, Xiaobei started to think about her guards. Now that she was an official, according to the rules, she could have a certain number of attendants. Even though she was just a low-ranking official, she could still enjoy such treatment and a salary from the imperial court. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had guards, and the number had long exceeded the standard. However, no one cared about it, and no one mentioned it. Other than the fact that other people also exceeded the standard, it was also because of the importance of the skills of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Even Li Longji hoped that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family would have more guards to prevent others from prying into their good skills. I've decided. My guard must grow up with me and be nurtured from a young age. After thinking for a while, Xiaobei came up with such a decision. She started to look at Xiao Yuan. "Don't look at me. I'm not your guard. I'm also an official. I also need my own guards." Xiao Yuan knew what Xiaobei was thinking when she saw Xiaobei looking over. She straightforwardly told Xiaobei to dismiss the idea. Xiaobei looked elsewhere regretfully and finally said, "Forget it. When we're on the way, I'll see if I can meet some orphans and find them to be my guards. In the future, they will definitely be more powerful than the people from Team Zero." The people who lived in Savant's restaurant were also looking at Xiaobei and the others in the courtyard. They were all envious and jealous. When the sky finally turned dark, Zhang Xiaobao brought out the food he had prepared for his younger siblings. Just as he was about to ask his younger siblings to eat, someone from the palace came. Gao Lishir asked the little eunuch, Luo Bin, to come over and ask Zhang Xiaobao if he had made any dishes. He had not eaten yet. When he heard Luo Bin say this, Zhang Xiaobao gave Wang Wan a look, telling her to continue telling stories to his younger siblings while he went to cook for Li Longji. Although Luo Bin said that Gao Lishir wanted to eat, Zhang Xiaobao knew that this was Li Longji's problem. In fact, the chefs in the palace were not bad. It was just that the food they made was more casual. It was unlike the palace, where the food used was fixed and could not be different. If it was a little salty or bland, then it would be troublesome. After busying himself for a full hour, Zhang Xiaobao only managed to make 8 dishes and 1 soup. He put them in a large food box and had the people Luo Bin brought carry it away. He did not forget to give Luo Bin and the others a gift according to the importance of their position and status. He even did not miss out on the palace guards who followed them. This time, the people who came out went back happily and promised Zhang Xiaobao that they would not delay the journey and would not let anyone come close. This meant that they did not have to worry about anyone tampering with the food. After watching Luo Bin and the others leave, Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his starving stomach and looked for something to eat. He muttered, "This journey is so tiring. I reckon that Li Longji wants me to cook for him, so he transferred me over from Baoxin County. What kind of person is he?" Zhang Xiaobao did not know whether Li Longji really thought this way or not. When Luo Bin hurried back to the palace, the food was still warm. There was no need to reheat it. There was a charcoal fire under the food box to keep it warm. In addition, it was currently summer, so it was impossible for it to become cold. Zhang Xiaobao was hungry from cooking, but Li Longji and Gao Lishir were also hungry. In order to eat more of Zhang Xiaobao's food, the two of them only drank tea and did not even touch the snacks. When they saw that the food was delivered with the seal that Zhang Xiaobao had put on it, Gao Lishir checked it and saw that no one had touched it. He did not need anyone else to taste it. He tasted every dish himself. After waiting for another 15 minutes, he nodded to Li Longji and said, "Your Majesty, you can eat now." When Li Longji saw that Gao Lishir did not feel uncomfortable after tasting the food, he impatiently picked up his chopsticks and started eating. As he ate, he said, "If only I could get Xiaobao to come over and cook for me. I don't need anyone else to taste it. After we leave the capital, I can eat Xiaobao's food every day. Don't you think it's strange? Xiaobao's knife skills are not as good as the chefs in the palace, so why does it taste so good?" "Your Majesty, this subject believes that it has nothing to do with the knife skills, nor is it an issue with the seasonings. It's just that Xiaobao's food gives me the feeling of eating at home. It's not like a restaurant where the food is good, but it's all the same. Xiaobao's food is called a home-cooked meal." Gao Lishir explained from the side. Yes, home-cooked meal. That's indeed the case. In the past, when I was in my own residence, even if the food I ate was not as good as the food in the palace, I still felt that it was better than the food in the palace. Tomorrow, call Xiaobao and the others over and make that pot of clear water. It'll be more lively when a group of people eat together. It's better than eating alone. Li Longji agreed. Then, he wanted to liven up the atmosphere. The people in the palace, even his children and concubines, were a little reserved when eating with him. They were not as good as Zhang Xiaobao and his younger siblings. Children did not know how to be afraid and would say whatever was on their mind. Only then would they be able to eat together freely. Gao Lishir did not object. He immediately sent someone to Savant's restaurant to inform Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan so that they could prepare in advance. Whatever they wanted to dip in the pot of water would be decided by the two of them. It should not be bad, but they did not know how much it would cost. The emperor's meal was not simple. "Lishir, you eat too. 8 dishes and 1 soup. I can't finish it alone. It would be a pity to throw it away," Li Longji said to Gao Lishir when he saw Gao Lishir eating at the side. From the looks of it, Xiaobao knew that if 2 people were eating, he would probably increase the portion by a little. When Gao Lishir thanked him and also started to eat, Li Longji suddenly changed the topic and talked about the trip to Jinyang this time. "Lishir, how much do you think Xiaobao and Cuckoo will spend this time? How will they earn it back? I don't believe that they will only spend and not earn. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned to them that I am willing to take the initiative to fork out this money. It probably won't be a small amount." In fact, Li Longji did not need Zhang Xiaobao and Wang want to fork out the money. There was a lot of money in the national treasury now, enough to support a few trips like this. The reason why he agreed was that it was better to save as much as possible and use it in other aspects. The people in the imperial court had already calculated that if they were to fork out money from the national treasury this time, they would need at least 200,000 strings of coins. This was not including the money that would be taken out when they arrived at Jinyang. It was better to save money and leave it to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Another reason was that he wanted to see if the two of them could earn money from this kind of thing. He wanted to learn. How could Gao Lishir know how much Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would fork out? He estimated that it would not be less. After thinking for a while, he replied, "Your Majesty, this subject feels that if Xiaobao and Cuckoo were to fork out the money, they would not be able to spend 300,000 strings of coins. It might even be 500,000 strings of coins." "Oh, why do you say so?" Li Longji asked, replying to Your Majesty, since Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have accepted this job, they naturally will not be fooling around. They will definitely arrange it well, so that Your Majesty will be happy along the way and feel comfortable when you arrive at your destination. This is a sum of money. According to the calculations of the officials in the imperial court, the amount of money that was prepared to be used in the national treasury was 200,000 strings of coins. Moreover, when you arrive at Jinyang, you will also need to spend a lot of money there. There are construction banks, roads, and arrangements for Your Majesty's sightseeing. 100,000 strings of coins is still the minimum. It is estimated that it will only be more and not less. Since this is the case, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will have to fork out 300,000 strings of coins. In addition, they will have to think of ways to earn money, so they will need to use more money to take advantage of the opportunity to build. Therefore, this subject feels that 300,000 strings of coins is possible. Gao Lishir analyzed for Li Longji. He also wanted to know how Xiao Bao would earn back the money. The more the better. Seeing that Li Longji was deep in thought, Gao Lishir asked again, why don't this subject send someone to ask Xiao Bao? Ask? No need. We will know when the time comes. The Empress and concubine Hui are still in the hospital. Did they say when they will be back? Li Longji felt that if he asked, Zhang Xiao Bao would naturally tell him, but it would not be a surprise. It would be interesting to guess more. It would be best if he could see how Zhang Xiao Bao would earn money. At the same time, he asked Empress Wang and concubine Wu. If they were not back, he could not bring them along. It did not matter whether Empress Wang brought them along or not. Wu Huifei had not seen her for a long time. Gao Lishir knew the situation over there. He said to Li Longji, Your Majesty, this subject reckons that the Empress and concubine Hui will not be able to make it this time. There's a chef competition over there. Li Longji looked a little regretful. He did not say anything more and continued to eat. In Huayuan County, the chef competition was still in progress. Chefs from all over the country showed their skills. For the next few days, they were busy all day and night, taking turns to come. The chefs in Aqua Cloud Room had already cooked several dishes, but every time Wu Huifei gave them a very low score. Even if the food in her mouth was clearly better than the dishes cooked by others, she still wouldn't give them a high score. Empress Wang was more fair. She would give a score according to her own feelings. If the food between the clouds and the water did not taste good, she would not give a high score. The two of them were not the only ones who tasted the food. There were other people who were also there to give a fair score after tasting the food made by others. In this way, it was impossible for concubine Wu Huifei to suppress between the clouds and the water, even if she tried her best. Now it was nighttime, and there were only 2 days left. The chef competition would enter the finals. Most of the chefs who were eliminated by the score would not have a chance to enter the finals. Now, among the 20 people in front of the competition, 12 of them were between the clouds and the water. One of them was because the food between the clouds and the water cooked was really good. The other was because the chefs between the clouds and the water came in large numbers. There were many branches between the clouds and the water in the prefectures around Jiangyi province. Even if there was only one chef from each branch, there would be more than 100 chefs coming here. Under such competition, it was hard not to be sent to the front. In order to suppress between the clouds and the water, concubine Wu Huifei could not sit still. Tonight's competition was to make a soup and 2 optional dishes. Once the dishes were done, dinner would be finished after tasting them. Concubine Wu Huifei sat there and thought for a while. Then she gave an order to the person next to her. That person immediately came to the stage where the competition was going to be held and shouted to the crowd, Concubine Wu has ordered that in today's competition, we will not follow the previous rules. Instead, we will divide the dishes made by the 20 people in front of us and let each judge be responsible for 2 people's dishes. As for the chefs after the 20th place, they will be counted according to the normal rules. In this way, we can increase the difficulty of the chefs and make the competition more interesting. The onlookers understood as soon as they heard that. Concubine Wu Huifei wanted to change the rules. If it were someone else who said this, the onlookers would definitely not support it. However, she was an imperial concubine. Even if some people were not satisfied with it, They could not say anything. At this time, many people looked at Empress Wang, wondering if she would agree. How could Empress Wang not know what concubine Wu Huifei was thinking? If she did this, then as long as concubine Wu Huifei ate the dishes made by the chefs between the clouds and the water, no matter how good or bad they would be given a very low score. This would cause the chefs between the clouds and the water to drop from the top 20. One less person was one less person. Two less people were two less people. In this way, between the clouds and the water might lose in the finals because of the lack of chefs. Empress Wang wanted to stop it, but when she saw the person in charge of the competition, who looked indifferent, she finally swallowed the words she wanted to say. Wei Wei nodded, agreeing to this rule. Seeing that Empress Wang did not object, concubine Wu Huifei was happy. She looked at the place where the lots were being drawn, hoping that she could draw two chefs between the clouds and the water. That way, she could take revenge on Wang Wan first. After all, she had brought Empress Wang here and taught her a lot of skills. Perhaps she was really lucky. When the lots were drawn, concubine Wu Huifei indeed drew two chefs between the clouds and the water. Wu Huifei looked at the two chefs who were indifferent and thought about how to find fault with them later. With the order, the competition started. Concubine Wu Huifei stared at the two chefs she was in charge of. When it came time to score, she had to have an excuse. The two chefs between the clouds and the water did not make shark fin and abalone. It was a very normal dish. First, they prepared the ingredients for two soups. One prepared to make a soup with cucumber and egg, while the other prepared to make a soup with shredded radish. After preparing the ingredients for the soup, one of the chefs began to beat the eggs. He used shredded radish to make the soup. Because there were eggs in the main dish, it was not good to put eggs in the soup. Otherwise, it would be repeated. The oil in the pot was first heated. Then, he beat the eggs one by one into the bowl. Then, he used chopsticks to break the adhering parts. The chopsticks flew up and down, and the eggs rose and fell with the movements of the chopsticks. In the end, the eggs did not look like eggs. They looked like yellowish cloth. After the oil in the wok was boiling, the cook added some salt to the eggs. He didn't add anything else and directly put the cloth into the wok with his chopsticks. With a sizzling sound, the eggs in the wok suddenly swelled up. When the last piece of egg was beaten into the pot, the chef used his chopsticks to pull the egg pancake in the pot and turn it around. Immediately, with the force of the turn, the egg pancake was picked up along the side of the pot and landed on the empty plate at the side. The whole process was very fast. It was so fast that the onlookers below exclaimed. They had never seen anyone make fried eggs like this. It looked very comfortable, but the requirements for heat control and the chef's proficiency were very high. This dish was actually very common. However, when placed in between the clouds and the water, it was a dish that every chef who wanted to be promoted to a special chef. The simpler the dish, the more one could see the chef's ability. Then, the chef began to stir-fry the wood ears and shredded meat. At the same time, it was a very simple dish. At this time, the other chef had also finished the first dish. It was stir-fried tofu with some starch on top. That was it. The other dish was eggplant with mincemeat. Except for the wood ears, which were very rare, the commoners had eaten all the other dishes. They were the most commonly seen dishes. However, none of the commoners felt that this dish was not good. They were all waiting for the final score. At this moment, the soup was also being served. The entire process, which consisted of 2 dishes and 1 soup, took less than half an hour before they were placed on the table in front of Wu Huifei. Before they even touched their chopsticks, Wu Huifei spoke first. She evaluated the 4 dishes one by one. I don't know what the chef is thinking about this fried egg. You made such a big piece. How do you expect others to eat it? Don't you know how to break it? When did Between the Clouds and the Water have such a chef? At the very least, it should be divided into 4 pieces. Even if you used a knife to divide it later, it would be fine. The chef who was criticized nodded and replied, "Your Highness is right. When I made it, I did as Your Highness said. I divided this piece of egg into 6 pieces. If Your Highness doesn't believe me, just use your chopsticks and you will know. Don't be fooled by the fact that the eggs seem to be in a continuous state when you put them into the pot. In fact, they actually broke 5 times. Furthermore, the position of the eggs in the pot has also been adjusted. Just by connecting them together, they can be separated with chopsticks. Hearing the chef's words, the commoners nearby gasped in admiration again. They all followed the people around them and said that the chef between the clouds and the water was amazing, and so on. Wu Huifei's expression turned ugly. Using her chopsticks to pick up the egg, wasn't that right? With just a slight movement, the egg on the plate immediately divided into 6 pieces. Following the praises of the surrounding commoners again, Wu Huifei felt that she had lost face. She said, "Don't you know how to add some chopped green onions to add color when you're scrambling the eggs? Look at what you made. Without chopped green onions, how can the taste be good?" "Yes, Your Highness is right." The chef didn't refute this time. In this aspect, everyone had their own reasons. Not adding chopped green onions was to allow the scrambled eggs to maintain the original taste as much as possible. If he added chopped green onions, then there would be an additional taste of chopped green onions. However, some people didn't like to eat eggs with chopped green onions because the taste wasn't good. Seeing that the other party didn't refute this time, Wu Huifei picked up a piece of egg and took a small bite. Her brows furrowed. Scrambled eggs, scrambled eggs. You really fried them lightly. Don't tell me you don't have any salt. You only put this little bit of salt. It doesn't taste good at all. The chef was stunned for a moment and didn't say anything. The surrounding people who knew how to eat looked at Wu Huifei in surprise. Every one of them wondered if this was Wu Huifei. Didn't she know that eating scrambled eggs wasn't about eating salt, but the freshness of the egg? Otherwise, why was she able to get it out of the pot so quickly? "I don't know how you got such a high score. This dish only got a 0. Do you have any objections?" Feeling that she had caught the other party's flaw, Wu Huifei directly gave him a 0. What objections could the chef have? So be it. He didn't come here to get first place. It was fine as long as he achieved his goal. After Wu Huifei said this, the commoners let out a series of boos. Then, they immediately stopped, afraid that Wu Huifei would see them and have him arrested. At this time, the person in charge of the competition walked over and said to Wu Huifei, "Your Highness said it very well. Then should this dish be called lightly fried?" "Yes, it's this light word." Wu Huifei nodded. Wei Wei nodded. "Thank you, Your Highness." At this time, the chef bowed to Wu Huifei because he had achieved his goal. In the future, there would be a dish called Wu Huifei Stir Fry, and it would definitely be very famous. Especially since the Zhang and Wang families had a lot of eggs, there was no need to worry about not having enough. It was estimated that from today onwards, Wu Huifei's stir-fry of shui yunrum would become famous. Wu Huifei didn't know that this chef's competition was prepared for her. They used her name to earn her living expenses in the Four Seasons restaurant. Then, she started to evaluate the next dish. How could one not be able to pick a bone in an egg? The 4 dishes and 2 soups of the 2 chefs all got 0 points. These 6 dishes also got their own names. The method of making minced meat and eggplant was to cut open the eggplant and put minced meat inside. It was not the other method of making minced meat on the outside. Wu Huifei said that once the customers saw the meat, they would have preconceived ideas and wouldn't buy it. This was because the dishes between the clouds and the water all had pictures to let the customers know how they looked. Therefore, Wu Huifei gave a bad evaluation of this dish, saying that it only knew how to hide the meat inside. As a result, the minced meat and eggplant between the clouds and the water became Wu Huifei's minced meat. When eating this dish, one could even imagine whether the emperor would be angry when he heard about it. Never mind. I'll explain later. I'll earn as much money as I can. The other dishes also got their own names, all of which started with Wu Huifei. It was agreed that they would use the names of Empress Wang and Wu Huifei. Wu Huifei was very happy. As the dishes spread, her reputation would also spread. Empress Wang was also evaluating the dishes. Her opinions were very pertinent. Even if she didn't know, she would ask clearly. She named the dishes that tasted good and left the ones that didn't. Wu Huifei, who didn't know that she was being schemed against, was still happily thinking that there would be 2 less people between the clouds and the water. When the finals came, she would think of a way to make the first place go to someone else. That would be perfect. The person in charge of the Zhang family and the chefs here were all amazed by the little young master. When the competition was held, the little young master repeatedly emphasized that there was no need to get first place this time. Even if they didn't get first place, between the clouds and the water would still be between the clouds and the water, especially since this was a competition held between the clouds and the water. If the first place didn't belong to between the clouds and the water, the reputation of between the clouds and the water might be better. As long as Wu Huifei and Empress Wang allowed them to use their names to name the dishes, it would be a success. Looking at the situation, now they were one step closer to success. Moreover, Wu Huifei deliberately made trouble. The people were not stupid, especially when they were talking about the scrambled eggs. They said it was light. It was estimated that it would soon spread and become a joke. Moreover, people who went to between the clouds and the water to eat would be willing to order this dish, which was not expensive. After Wu Huifei and the others tasted the dishes and were full, the onlookers also had the opportunity to order some dishes to try. This dish was made by the best chefs in the whole of Jiangyi province. Usually, if they wanted to eat it, they wouldn't be able to afford it. Now they had a chance. After the selection of today's competition, the first 20 people who were going to participate in the finals had been selected. After Wu Huifei eliminated 2 of them, the remaining 10 people successfully passed the competition. The people also began to disperse. When they walked on the road, they didn't forget to talk to each other about today's competition. As long as they weren't stupid, they could see that Wu Huifei was deliberately making trouble for between the clouds and the water. How could a chef who got a high score for between the clouds and the water not cook good food? Moreover, there were people who had tasted it. When the scrambled eggs were put in the mouth, they were soft and fragrant. After one bite, they wanted a second bite. The remaining 8 judges also knew Wu Huifei's intention, but they couldn't cooperate with Wu Huifei. Empress Wang was there. If they really cooperated with Wu Huifei, not to mention whether Empress Wang would agree or not, between the clouds and the water would also have ideas about them. In particular, the 8 of them also wanted to maintain their reputation. Wu Huifei might not care about what she did, but if the 8 of them followed suit and made trouble, who would invite them to taste dishes in the future? Who didn't know how high the standards for choosing a chef from between the clouds and the water were? Moreover, between the clouds and the water could always produce new dishes. If none of them made it to the finals, people wouldn't doubt the ability of between the clouds and the water, but whether there was something wrong with the person who tasted the dishes. Wu Huifei, who thought that she had won by a small margin, looked at the 8 judges in dissatisfaction. She smiled and greeted Empress Wang, then returned to Four Seasons Workshop, 70% full. Empress Wang smiled and didn't say anything. Beside her, Xiao Zhu pouted on the way back and said, "Empress, why did you just watch Wu Huifei make trouble there? Look at how she picked on the dishes. I really suspect that there's something wrong with the palace chef who cooked for her. It's all because of me. Cuckoo sent me here." Of course, Wu Huifei wouldn't agree. She's taking revenge. It's a pity that she chose the wrong person. Zhang family and Wang family won't suffer for nothing. This time, Wu Huifei's name will be known, but it won't be a good reputation. Empress Wang wasn't worried that Zhang family and Wang family couldn't handle such a small matter. Thinking of Wang Wan in her heart, a smile appeared on her face. Xiao Zhu nodded. Anyway, I can't see what Zhang family and Wang family will do. At this moment, the maid from Yaowang Mountain, who was in charge of serving Empress Wang, said to Xiao Zhu, "Little sister Xiao Zhu, you haven't eaten yet, right? Then when we go back later, I'll make Huifei stir-fry for you." Hearing this name, Xiao Zhu finally reacted. She opened her eyes wide in surprise and suddenly burst out laughing. "You're so bad. I know. In the future, Huifei stir-fry between the clouds and the water will be a famous dish. Then tomorrow, shouldn't we let Wu Huifei continue to make trouble?" Empress Wang also smiled. She knew that this was Wang Wan helping her again. It wouldn't be long before the people around Gongji province knew about what happened today. Wu Huifei's reputation would plummet. At least, she wouldn't be able to run away from the fact that she didn't know how to taste dishes. If she deliberately made trouble between the clouds and the water after going back, the people in the court would hesitate when choosing a side. Who didn't know that Zhang family and Wang family were vengeful people? Good plan. This plan was well used. It was all for her and made things difficult for Cuckoo. The next day, when the final competition was held, Wu Huifei didn't let go of the chef between the clouds and the water. This time, she thought of a new rule. That was, there were 20 people and 10 judges. She divided the judges into 2 teams. One team would follow Empress Wang, and the other team would follow her. First, the judges would report their scores to her, and then she would make the final decision. Under normal circumstances, she could take down at least 5 people from Aqua Cloud Room. If she was lucky, she could even take down 10 people from Aqua Cloud Room. At that time, if she met someone who wasn't between the clouds and the water, she would deliberately give full marks. She didn't believe that Empress Wang would do the same. If Empress Wang had a person between the clouds and the water who got full marks, and she also had a person from another place who got full marks, they would compete again. Then both sides would jointly give their scores. She would lead 4 people to give the person between the clouds and the water a lower score. Wasn't Empress Wang fair? That was good. No matter how bad her side was, the fair Empress Wang wouldn't give a 0. Then, after calculating the average score of both sides, between the clouds and the water would at most get second place. That night, Wu Huifei, who had figured this out, had a good dream. The next day, her spirit couldn't keep up. The palace maid next to her also listened to her sleep talk for the whole night. She said that the dish didn't look good, that there was too much oil, and so on. It was the last day of the competition. More people came, hoping that they would be lucky enough to try the dishes that the judges couldn't finish. The 20 chefs who were going to enter the finals were also ready. During the drawing of lots, it was unknown how it was so coincidental. After Wu Huifei announced her new rules, she actually drew 9 chefs from between the clouds and the water. Only one of them didn't have a name between the clouds and the water. The chef between the clouds and the water who was assigned to Empress Wang was said to be the head chef of the flagship store between the clouds and the water in Sanshui County. After a round of evaluation, the 9 chefs from between the clouds and the water in Wu Huifei's team were once again degraded by Wu Huifei. Their scores were so low that all kinds of excuses that would make people blush came out of Wu Huifei's mouth. As a result, many of the dishes were given new names. The 9 chefs were very happy, and the remaining one was given full marks by Wu Huifei. The 4 judges who followed him were very helpless. Wu Huifei didn't allow them to say anything, so they could only write. After they finished writing, they gave their scores to Wu Huifei. If others didn't know, they would really think that they gave a very low score. Empress Wang also had a chef who got full marks, and it was the chef from between the clouds and the water. The head chef between the clouds and the water was indeed amazing. Even the other 9 chefs who were competing with him couldn't help but be convinced. As a result, there were 2 chefs who got full marks on the competition stage. Wu Huifei excitedly used the method she thought of last night to start a new round of evaluation. The result was needless to say. Between the clouds and the water was given a low score, while the other chef was given a high score and full marks. After the 2 rounds were averaged, the chef between the clouds and the water lost, and only got a runner-up. Wu Huifei acted as if she had done a very great thing. She personally gave the champion a trophy and asked, "Xinu, why has this consort never heard of that restaurant of yours before? If there's a chance in the future, this consort will definitely go there and personally taste your dishes. Many thanks, Your Imperial Highness. However, this lowly one probably won't be able to stay in that restaurant in the future. After all, this lowly one is going there to help train the chefs. Once the training is done, the original 1,000 Delicacies restaurant will be changed into a branch of Between the Clouds and the Water. At that time, this lowly one will return to Between the Clouds and the Water. This lowly one is only temporarily transferred over. This lowly one was originally the head chef of the restaurant Between the Clouds and the Water in Wanyan County. In the future, if Your Imperial Highness wants to eat this lowly one's dishes, You can have someone call this lowly one to the palace or the restaurant between the clouds and the water in Wanyan County. This lowly one will definitely make the best dishes for your Imperial Highness. Chapter 755. As soon as the voice of the chef who won the championship fell, everyone who could hear his words widened their eyes. They didn't expect that even though Wu Huifei had suppressed between the clouds and the water so much, between the clouds and the water still won the championship. How could between the clouds and the water come up with such a plan? Wu Huifei suddenly felt an indescribable feeling. She asked the chef in a trembling voice, "You're also between the clouds and the water?" "Yes, Your Highness. However, I'm not representing between the clouds and the water in the competition. I'm representing Thousand Cuisine Restaurant. Therefore, the champion this time isn't between the clouds and the water, but Thousand Cuisine Restaurant. This place will soon become a branch of between the clouds and the water. As long as the chef is trained, he can open a branch between the clouds and the water. Otherwise, it will weaken the reputation of between the clouds and the water." The chef who won the championship said respectfully to Wu Huifei. Wu Huifei wanted to say that she tasted the wrong dish just now and wanted to taste it again. However, she considered that even if she ate it again and got rid of this person, the champion would still be between the clouds and the water. Moreover, if she really did that, her reputation would be ruined. Although what she did now made others feel bad, it was all within the rules. No one objected to her rules. Wu Huifei felt like she was a person who had grown wings and flew up to the clouds. However, when she was happy, she suddenly fell down from the clouds. What a terrible fall! After thinking for a while, she smiled and said, "Not bad. I've seen the ability of between the clouds and the water today. Good. When I return to the capital, I'll have someone call you. Also, I'll eat the Rui House and Savant's restaurant that also belong to the Zhang family and the Wang family. I'll not only eat there often, but I'll also recommend them to His Majesty." Wu Huifei had no choice but to say some polite words. She greeted Empress Wang with a smile and went back with her people. At the same time, she decided not to stay here any longer. The emperor was going to leave soon, and Zhang Xiaobao and Wang were going to follow him. She just wanted to have a look and find an opportunity to make trouble for them. He was so angry that he was about to die of anger. After scheming and scheming, he was still tricked by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang won. Revenge, he must take revenge. Wu Huifei had a smile on her face and left with a stomach full of food. Empress Wang, on the other hand, smiled in relief. She said to Xiao Zhu, who was beside her and had her mouth slightly agape because of the ownership of the championship, "How was it? Now you know how powerful Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are, right? That's amazing. How did they think of that? They got the reputation, the first and second place. They made use of Wu Huifei and made a lot of money. This chef's competition collects tickets. Those with good seats will pay 3 copper coins, and those with bad seats will pay 1 copper coin. Those with good seats will have a chance to taste the dishes made by the chefs. As for those that don't cost money, they can only watch from a farther place. Although the money collected is not much, according to my estimation, the money for the materials provided to the chefs has come out. The most important thing is the advertisements of the merchants here. I think we can earn back the money that we and Wu Huifei spent on coming here. In other words, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo got a reputation without a single copper coin. There are also many dishes that are named after Wu Huifei and the Empress." Xiao Zhu nodded her little head vigorously and deduced in shock. The smile on Empress Wang's face became wider. She said, "This is the ability of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. If it wasn't for the fact that I haven't learned enough and need to wait for another 2 months, I really want to go back now. The emperor is going to Jinyang, and Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are accompanying him. Let me take a good look at Cuckoo. Empress, you can't go back. We have to learn well. Otherwise, Wu Huifei is very powerful. This time, she will probably go back and deal with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. I guess she will be unlucky." Xiao Zhu was afraid that the empress would go back, so she advised her. Empress Wang was not the only one who received training here. Even palace maids like them were the same. In the past, there were people who specially trained them in the palace. Moreover, when they stayed in the palace, they learned a lot from the other palace maids. However, compared to what they learned here, it was far worse. There was a short-term training class here, which taught planning and psychology. Until now, they felt that they were much better than before. However, it was more tiring. After all, the time was short. I'm not going back. I'll wait until the emperor comes back. I don't think anyone else can participate in the canonization ceremony. It would be good if I could come. Get up. Let's go back to Yaowang Mountain. Empress Wang felt a little regretful that she couldn't participate in the canonization ceremony. However, she knew that this was to prevent something like the Empress from happening again. Seeing that it was over and she had to continue training, she gave the order and went back to her residence. The rest of the people were still immersed in excitement. No one expected the final result. Just when they were feeling regretful about between the clouds and the water, the champion turned out to be between the clouds and the water. This was called ability. When the 4 judges on Wu Huifei's side saw the result, they heaved a sigh of relief. If it wasn't for this, it would be difficult in the future. The group of people chatted and laughed as they left. What they talked about the most was Wu Huifei's incident this time. For a moment, they treated Wu Huifei as a joke. After all, this was Huayuan County, where Zhang Zhong used to be the county magistrate. The people were all on the side of Zhang Zhong and Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also received the news of Huayuan County very quickly. It wasn't far to begin with. Moreover, there were carrier pigeons. Xiaobao, good plan. This time, won't Wu Huifei be angry to death? However, she is coming back. I think she will participate in Li Longji's trip. I think she will make trouble for us. We have to prepare first. We can't fight a battle that we don't have confidence in. After receiving the news, Wang Wan laughed for a while. Then, she told Zhang Xiaobao that Wu Huifei was coming back. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about what Wu Huifei would do to him. He didn't have any weakness in other people's hands. At most, they would pick on him. If that was really the case, Li Longji would be annoyed. Therefore, he didn't have to worry. The only thing he was worried about was that Wu Huifei wouldn't make trouble for them. Instead, she would get close to them. I'm most afraid that Wu Huifei will want to help us. For example, if we spend a lot of money, she will help us earn it back. She also has some private money. If she invested in the bridge or the market, she will blindly give orders and increase the bridge toll by 10 times. She will collect management fees from the market and send people to monitor the tax collection. That will be troublesome. That's right, it's really possible. That market is originally an agricultural market, so it doesn't collect taxes. It provides a channel for ordinary people to sell their products so that the products won't rot. If it were to collect high taxes like normal businesses, then the products sold would probably be the same as the taxes. Then, who will sell their products? We have to think about it. It's best if we don't let Wu Huifei know how we are going to make money. We have to find something for her to do. Let's think about what we can do to distract Wu Huifei from our business. Wang Wan also thought about this. If it was another concubine, perhaps after losing in Huayuan County, they would immediately come back to take revenge. However, Wu Huifei definitely couldn't be taken lightly. She was a really powerful person. She believed that after losing in Huayuan County for a while, she would definitely change her methods. Most of the time, it wasn't necessary to stab someone in the back. Okay, let's think about what can divert Wu Huifei's attention. Instead of waiting for her to take action, why don't we give her a reason to do it? We can protect the good business. Let me think about what business we should give her. It can't be a profitable one, but it can't be a loss-making one. Zhang Xiaobao started to think. Wang Wan also thought about it. She understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. If they really gave her a profitable business, it would be helping the enemy. However, if they lost money, what would Li Longji think? Who would believe that Zhang Xiaobao's idea would lose money? Wouldn't it be a trap specially set for Wu Huifei? Now, Li Longji had been thinking of ways to get rid of the Empress. Wu Huifei was about to succeed, but she was ruined by herself. This left Li Longji without an excuse. It was a pity that Wu Huifei was destined to not be the Empress. She was powerful because her surname was Wu. However, it was also because of her surname that people were afraid of another Wu Zetian. Sigh. Wu Ziqian, if she was born in our time, she would have gone further than now. Actually, she did a good job, but the men couldn't tolerate her. At that time, we had many foreign women as leaders. In terms of scheming, I don't think they could compare to Wu Meinyang. Wang Wan sighed. Even if she was prepared to stand on Empress Wang's side, she did not deliberately belittle Wu Huifei. A person was a person, whether it was recognized or not. This kind of person could not be treated lightly. Li Linfu was like this. He had not even ascended to a high position, but he had already shown his ability. Zhang Xiaobao disagreed with Wang Wan's words. You mean to say that all the women in our time couldn't compare to Wu Zetian? The more information flowed in an era, the less chance Wu Zetian had. That was because many men still couldn't bear to let a woman be the empress. What about foreign countries? Wang Wan asked. How would I know about foreign countries? Forget it. Let's not talk about such impossible things. I thought of a business that could be given to Wu Huifei and let her invest her money. However, the annual income would not be much. It would take at least 10 years for her to earn back her investment. Help me think about it. Seeing that they were talking about other things, Zhang Xiaobao immediately stopped and changed the topic. He pulled Wang Wan to a nearby table and began to discuss there. Before the autumn harvest in Buixin County, the commoners were busy digging trenches. This time, they were not digging small trenches. They needed to be able to pass through the middle. Even if large ships could not pass through, small cargo ships had to be able to pass through. Holding the tools given by the yamen and eating the food provided by the yamen, the commoners were topless as they worked hard in the trenches. At this time, many sections of the trenches had been dug to the depth of 2 people. However, it was still not enough. They continued to dig. The deeper they went, the harder it was to dig. This was because the trenches were already wide enough. If they continued to dig, they would need people to use baskets to lift the soil. The amount of soil produced was not small. At this time, they were only digging. Once they were done, they would need to strengthen the trenches before they could bring the water over. They would also need to leave an outlet that could lead the water to the side. This way, they would not need to spend so much effort to water the land next year. At the same time, they could also continue to plant rice. It was estimated that they would be able to plant rice early next year. It would be like wheat, sorghum, and highland barley, which could be harvested twice a year. In the past, because of the lack of water, there were not many people who planted rice. He Wei was still doing his job. Every day, he would tell the commoners about the county's financial situation. Then, he would wander around the model tourist area, selling information that others needed. He would guide the people who came to cooperate with him to advertise and so on. He had also opened his own shop. Of the 500 strings of coins that he had invested, he had already earned back 300 strings of coins. After a while, he would be able to earn back his investment. When it became more prosperous in the future, he would be able to earn at least 3,000 to 4,000 strings of coins a year. This was much more than corruption and bribery. He did not need to take any risks. In addition, he would be able to get a piece of land in the next place he was going to. His family would not have to worry about their lives anymore. The place where the tortoises were raised was still raising them. The tortoises that were poisoned had been frozen and sent to Fengzhou. It was estimated that before winter this year, there would be a lot of livestock shipped back. Even if he was no longer the county magistrate in the future, the commoners would still remember him. Looking at the development of the county, He Wei felt so comfortable for the first time. He rode on the horse and began to walk along the excavation area. From time to time, he stopped to ask the commoners who were working and resting if they had any ideas. If someone was willing to run a boat, he could help to get a loan to build a boat. The commoners had been used to the situation where the county magistrate did not stay in the yamen and ran around everywhere. Usually, they met He Wei so often that they did not feel that the county magistrate had any official prestige. When they talked to him, they were not restrained and said whatever they wanted to say. At this time, He Wei was asking 2 brothers. The 2 were biological brothers. They were 1 year apart in age and had married and had children. Their surnames were Gao. In Baoxin County, there were not many people with such surnames. There were more people with surnames Luo and Fu. The elder brother looked older. He was in his early 30s this year. Maybe because he always took care of his younger brother, he looked like a man in his 40s. The younger brother was much younger and liked to talk to others very much. The elder brother was called Gao Fei, and the younger one was called Gao Tang. When he heard the names, he knew that he wanted his two sons to be outstanding one day. At this time, the two had just come up from the bottom of the pit. They sat by the side and drank mung bean water. They were resting and talking at the same time. When Yi came over, the two of them just nodded and didn't get up. Yi was wearing a patched official's uniform. It was not that the patching was worn out. It was because he was always wandering around, so he added a layer of cloth where it was easy to be worn out. In this way, he was not afraid of wearing out the clothes. He sat beside the two brothers and looked at the people digging below. He asked the elder brother, Gao Fei, do we have enough people at home? If we have more people, why don't we buy a boat? In the future, you two brothers can make a living on the river. During the busy farming season, you can stop and make more money. Sir, my younger brother and I have the same idea, but we don't know how much a boat will cost. If it is expensive, we can't afford it. Can we get this from the employment fund? The elder brother handed a bowl of mung bean water to Yi and said the same idea as Yi. Yi thought for a while and nodded. The employment fund naturally includes this part. I have written a letter to the capital to ask Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. I expect to get a reply in a few days. I heard from Yu that if the people who buy the boat need goods, the county will find a way to supply them in the future, but they must pay a part of the money. I think it's not bad, although you will earn more if you pay a part of the money. In fact, I think this employment fund should be given to the people in the family who don't have enough manpower to make money. In the end, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo didn't agree. They said that they don't have enough manpower and they have to farm and do other things. So in the end, this employment fund will be used on the people in the family who don't have enough manpower. After the tax is collected, a part of it will be used to subsidize the people in the county who don't have enough money. The imperial court doesn't have this rule. It is set by the county. This time, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will talk to the emperor about this matter. It's called welfare. I don't know if it will pass. If it passes, I have to tell the people who paid the tax. Otherwise, many people will feel that they should give their tax money to others for free. Yes, why should they give it to others? Shouldn't the county's income be spent on everyone in the county? Gao Fei's younger brother, Gao Tang, followed Yi's words. He didn't understand. As the elder brother, he knew more. He thought for a while and said, What do you know? The county's income is used on the people in the county. But Lord He, Registrar Zhang, and Deputy Wang are willing to disclose the income and expenditure. Even if they don't disclose it, what can you do? How many places do you see doing this? It's okay to give it to others who can guarantee that nothing will happen to them in their life. There is no disease or disaster. Today, we pay the tax to help others. Maybe one day we will need other people's help. Besides, why don't we give it to you? Soon, the county will treat the people in the county for free. This part of the money can be given to people who are sick, but not to people who are not sick. Just because you are not sick, shouldn't we let the government spend this money? When you are sick and the money can't be treated, won't you regret it? Seeing that Gao Fei was so understanding, Yi was happy and said, That's right. No one dares to say that he doesn't need other people's help in his life. The money in the government office can't be equally spent on everyone. Whoever needs, it should be used first. People in a county should be united. Those who can pay more taxes are capable people. Gao Tang was speechless because he was sick a few days ago. He was treated in the clinic next to the government. The doctor didn't ask for money, and the medicine was very cheap. This was before the universal free medical treatment was implemented. Once it was implemented, there was no need to spend money anymore. Hearing what Yi said, Gao Fei looked forward to it, but suddenly he asked worriedly, Lord He, when you, Xiao Bao, and Cuckoo are all gone, will the new official listen to you? What if he is greedy for money? Will he listen? That depends on who set the rules. You know Sanshui County, right? Do you think the officials there will listen? Unfortunately, it's not possible here. We can't let the people choose, but the people can supervise and ask the officials to disclose the financial affairs. If the officials don't listen, someone will punish them. Even if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo want to protect their own face and business here. They will never allow Baoxin County to be out of their control. If they don't, they will replace them. When all the officials get used to it, it'll be fine. He Wei didn't think that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't care about the big business here. The three of them chatted happily until the two brothers felt that they had recovered their strength and went back to work. He Wei then stood up with a smile, casually patted the dirt off his body, and prepared to go to the next place to have a look. At this time, the sound of a horse's hooves came. He Wei looked in the direction of the sound and sighed helplessly. It's here again. I've already refused once. Why did it come here again? The person who came was Lieutenant Yin of Shinsai County. The last time he came, he wanted the rich in the county to pay for the road repair. He said that after the road was repaired, the rich would have a special road when they walked, and the others would take the other road and send people to maintain it. The money didn't need to be used up, and they could keep it for themselves. This was the so-called big business. If anyone wanted to take the road in the future, they would also have to pay, saying that it was a symbol of status. The idea was good, but He Wei didn't agree no matter what. He didn't lack money. He could open a small shop and earn 3,000 to 4,000 strings of coins a year. When he took office in Yaozhou, there would be a lot of breeding businesses to develop. There was no need to do such a thing that would be criticized behind his back. Moreover, he had to share some of the money with Lieutenant Yin. He wasn't stupid. He didn't know why he was here today. It probably wasn't anything good. While he was thinking, Lieutenant Yan's horse came near. He got off and said to He Wei with a smile, "Lord He, I'm here again. This time is different from the last time. I went back and thought about the last time. Fortunately, Lord He didn't agree. Otherwise, it would have been easy to get into trouble. The last time was like this. If someone didn't pay and still wanted to walk on the road, too many people were needed to watch over them. Even if another person saw them, they couldn't catch them. They could only chase them. It was useless. Therefore, I don't think it's possible." He Wei thought to himself, "Aren't you talking nonsense? Who doesn't know that? You're making it sound like you're very powerful." He Wei didn't give Lieutenant Yin a good look and said to him, "I wonder why Lieutenant Yin is free today? Do you have 5 things to do in the county?" "Nothing at all. With Lord Li and Lord Shui, I have nothing to do. Look, I thought of another way to make a lot of money last night. It's better than the last one." "Oh, it's feasible, not like the last one." Lieutenant Yin didn't seem to notice He Wei's attitude and continued to talk about the purpose of his visit with a smile. He Wei was really annoyed. He frowned and asked, "Since Lieutenant Yin has so many good ideas, why don't you do them in Xian Kai County? Why do you have to come to my Baoxin County?" "Ah, Lord He, you've asked what's on my mind. I really want to do it in Xian Kai County, but Registrar Li and County Magistrate Shui don't listen to me. Also, they're both 3rd or 4th rank officials. I can't afford to offend them." "Oh, it's not that I can offend Lord He. They're just officials in the capital. How would they know about local matters?" Lieutenant Yan's smile immediately disappeared, and he complained to He Wei with a face full of grievance. He Wei didn't answer this time. He looked into the distance and stood there without moving. He didn't think Lieutenant Yin could come up with any good ideas. If he did, Xiaobao and Cuckoo would have come up with them a long time ago. Seeing that He Wei didn't say anything, Lieutenant Yin didn't care. He moved closer to He Wei and also looked into the distance. After a while, he finally spoke. "Lord He, I really do have a good idea this time. It's the matter of the river. After the river is repaired, we'll collect a sum of money from anyone who walks on it every time they come. It can't be too much. If it's too much, they won't come anymore. Think about it. This river needs to be cleaned up every year, right? For example, strengthening the embankment or cleaning up the silt, these all need people. It's perfectly justifiable to collect a portion of the money, but how much money can actually be used on the river? According to my estimates, there must be a lot of boats coming and going. This money can't be collected in the name of the Yamen. We can set up a chamber of commerce. The county will hand over the work of cleaning and maintaining the river to the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce will collect tolls from people. It can be calculated based on the amount of goods or the number of times. Either way, when the time comes, we can do whatever we see fit. Lord He, this idea isn't bad, right? If you want to make a name for yourself, take out more of the money you earn. Who knows how much money you collect and how much you take out? He Wei really didn't know what to say. This Lieutenant Yan's brain was really good, but why did he have to use it on this? Who didn't know that there would be a lot of boats coming and going in the future? But the money needed to maintain the river. As long as there was business, they would have to pay taxes. A portion of this tax would have to be taken out. In addition, the county's commoners still had 20 days of work every year, which was just enough. Why take more money? It was crazy poor. Suddenly thinking of the Chamber of Commerce that Lieutenant Yin mentioned, He Wei finally understood what was going on. He asked, "How will the Chamber of Commerce be formed?" "Lordy, have you thought it through?" "The Chamber of Commerce is simple. We can't really use other people's Chamber of Commerce. You and I will each provide a few people. This is a real business without any capital. We don't need to invest money first. As long as Lordy agrees, we'll split the profits 50-50. Not only that, the Chamber of Commerce can also find craftsmen to help unload the goods and repair the boats. Lordy just needs to give an order, and everything at the docks will be handed over to the Chamber of Commerce. No one is allowed to interfere. In the future, we'll have the final say here." Lieutenant Yin thought that He Wei was tempted, so he quickly continued. He Wei looked at Lieutenant Yin as if he was looking an idiot. After Lieutenant Yin didn't know what to do, he said, "I can do it myself. Why do I have to bring you along?" Lordy, it's not like that. Look, after you take all the benefits, there will naturally be people who aren't satisfied. If the people in Xi and Kai County aren't satisfied, you can just seal the mouth and take a portion of the money first. Do you think the boats that come and go can still pay here? I'll help you solve the problem over there. I can also deal with the local hooligans and country gentry. I have a way to make them not interfere. When the time comes, you just need to give them some benefits. I'll be in charge of everything you discuss with them." Lieutenant Yin didn't expect He Wei to say something like that, so he quickly continued. Hearing Lieutenant Yan's words, He Wei really admired him. He was a capable person, but unfortunately, he made the wrong decision. If he really agreed, he would offend the people in the county, and the reputation he worked so hard to build would be gone. As for the money, he would have to give out a portion of it. Lieutenant Yin could use the money to make friends with the country gentry or officials. When the time came, he would continue to be promoted. He was smart and wouldn't be worse than his previous self. It was really hard for him. Thinking about this, He Wei said to Lieutenant Yin, "Lieutenant Yin, how about this? You could try the Ru River in Xi and Kai County first. There are always boats coming and going there, and there will be more coming here in the future. I'll cooperate with you. When the time comes, you don't need to give me half of the money. Just 20% will do. I'll be in charge of persuading the people who are against it. After all, there are 4 workshops there. I think the people in Xi and Kai County will give this little face. I don't know when the water will be connected here, so I'm anxious. It's not like that. Didn't I say before that Registrar Li and Master Chui might not agree? I'm just a lieutenant, and I can't do anything." Lieutenant Yin didn't expect that after going around in circles, he would be involved. How could that be? "Lieutenant Yin, you worry too much. How about this? I'll go with you to talk to Registrar Li and County Magistrate Chui. You can talk to them, and I'll agree to cooperate. It'll be easier for 2 people to talk to each other." As He Wei spoke, he helped to pull up the people who were tired from working below with ropes. Lieutenant Yin finally changed his smiling face and said to He Wei, "County Magistrate it's fine if you don't agree. Why do you have to push me into the fire pit? I already said that they wouldn't agree, but they still insisted. Since that's the case, County Magistrate take care. Goodbye." After he finished speaking, Lieutenant Yin pulled the reins of the horse and jumped up. "I won't see you out." He Wei didn't give him any face. He even dared to threaten him. After Lieutenant Yin disappeared from view, He Wei was worried that he would cause trouble, so he also rode his horse and rushed to the yamen. He felt that Lieutenant Yin was a petty person who always had his thoughts on his side in mind. He didn't have any good ideas, so he could only write a letter to Erniu to send it to the capital via pigeon. Without waiting for the letter to be sent over, a dispatch letter was sent from Luoyang to the county. When he opened the letter, he saw that it was written by Zhang Xiaobao. It said that he wanted the people who stayed here to cooperate with the county to set up an insurance chamber of commerce and see if it would work. Although it was called an accident insurance, it wasn't an accident that happened to the people, but rather the crops and the fields. For example, if there was a drought or a flood, they would ask the people if they were willing to be insured. If they were willing, they would do their best to get more people to invest. If they weren't, they would wait until they returned. This was the first time He Wei had heard of such a thing. After thinking about it, he felt that it was better to give it a try. He didn't know what benefits there would be. As the day of Li Longji's departure approached, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also became busier. The emperor's departure was not a small matter. The work of the guards didn't need to be managed by the two of them, but whether the roads were smooth and whether the food, drinks, and accommodation were comfortable or not was something that the two of them had to consider. There was also the standard of reception for the officials they met along the way, as well as etiquette. Since they had accepted the job, they had to complete it. At this time, He Wei's letter arrived. After reading the contents of the letter, Zhang Xiaobao helplessly said to Wang Wan, "Little Li is really something. He arranged for someone to go over for us to clean up, and he even transferred us to the capital. How are we going to clean up? Are we going to the Imperial Palace to eat hot pot this afternoon? And we're going to eat. Should we bring this letter and show it to Little Li? I don't know what Little Li is thinking. Recently, he likes hot pot. There's no chili, so why eat hot pot on such a hot day? It's better to eat some barbecue. The cooking skills of the chefs in the Imperial Palace are pretty good. We can roast a camel or even a cow. Xiao Bei already said that if we eat hot pot again, we'll become the food in the pot. Little Li doesn't take care of the children and always insists that Xiao Bei and the others follow. Wang Wan was also tired of eating hot pot. During this period of time, she had already eaten it 4 times, and each time she ate it, it would take 4 hours. Xiao Bei and the others ate very little, and after they finished eating, they couldn't casually run around, so they stayed by the hot pot like obedient children. There was an ice basin in the room, and there was a charcoal fire in front of them. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't feel comfortable. Zhang Xiaobao laughed twice. Easy, today's hot pot won't be so grilling. Last time, when the food was prepared, we brought it to the Imperial Palace. Isn't it just a hot pot? No one said that we had to use the most classic Beijing pot. This time, we'll use a small lattice pot to cook the skewers. The stove is long, and there's an ice basin under it. Then we'll use a curtain to block the heat, so it won't be so hot. Let's do this and bring He Wei's letter. I'm really worried that He Wei will be tortured to the point of insanity. Of course, I'm even more worried that the person surnamed Yin will deliberately cause trouble. At that time, even if we catch him and deal with him, the gains won't make up for the losses. Our matter is the most important. As soon as he said it, Zhang Xiaobao promised his younger siblings that they would eat well today. Moreover, they wouldn't eat in the room, but under the shade outside. They could even eat while playing elsewhere. Only then did Xiao Bei and the others reluctantly agree. Otherwise, they would rather give up their official position than suffer. Bringing along their tools, the little fellows wore the 7th-ranked official's uniform and majestically entered the Imperial Palace once again. The people on the streets of Chang were already used to a group of small officials strolling around when they had nothing to do. The Imperial Palace guards guarding the door were also used to it. They didn't check and directly let them in. The little fellows didn't have any weapons on them. The first 2 checks were only made, and they were even reprimanded once. Li Longji had been waiting for a long time. Wu Huifei had returned the day before yesterday, which made him very happy. Originally, Wu Huifei wanted to join them today, but considering that this was a meal with the officials, it wouldn't be good to have another concubine. Thus, she was rejected. In any case, they would have a lot of time to eat together after this trip. A long row of food was brought over, causing Li Longji to be stunned. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's introduction, he felt that it was new and fresh. He ordered people to set up a shed outside so that everyone could eat together. It wasn't that the outside was good, but that Zhang Xiaobao was worried that too much carbon monoxide would come out from the charcoal under the long row of stoves, which would cause poisoning. There was no need to worry about eating outside, even if there was no wind. After setting up the shed, the other food to be boiled were also prepared. Whoever wanted to eat could put the food into a small compartment and eat it when it was ready. Xiao Bei and the others didn't care about this kind of thing. They ran around the large courtyard, waiting for their brothers and sisters to help them cook. Then, they would come over and eat 2 skewers before continuing to run. Li Longji watched Xiao Bei and the others laughing in the courtyard and was in a very good mood. After eating a few skewers, he was about to ask Gao Lishur to cook 2 more when Zhang Xiaobao took out the letter written by He Wei. Your Majesty, this subject has a letter from Baoxin County. The county magistrate Yin that you sent to Xian Kai County hasn't been very obedient recently. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao handed the letter to Li Longji and began to cook the skewers for his younger siblings. Li Longji took the letter in puzzlement and read it from beginning to end. After that, he didn't know what to do. That's right, he was the one who sent him. He was going to ask Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to help him manage him like they did He Wei. But now that the 2 of them were in the capital, he couldn't manage him. Lishur, what do you think? Li Longji handed the letter back to Gao Lishur. Gao Lishur glanced at it and was also worried. After thinking for a while, he said, Your Majesty, why don't we transfer him to another place first? We don't want him to do anything when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo aren't around. Even if we kill him after something happens, it's useless. Li Longji thought about Gao Lishur's words and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Xiaobao, what do you think? I think there's no need to transfer him. Just find something for him to do. For example, let him calculate how much profit the 4 workshops can generate in the shortest amount of time, how many jobs can be provided for the local people, and how much benefits can the local people get from it. Just order him to do this. Don't think that it's just a simple task. It's not easy to figure out, especially when there's a lot of data that he doesn't know. One is to ask the people in the workshops, and the other is to calculate it himself. Don't let him be idle, or he won't be able to find the time. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want Li Longji to transfer him away because he was going to go back after he was done with this trip. He wanted to see what the Yin guy was up to. Then we'll do as Xiaobao says. Li Longji didn't have any main purpose in this matter. He just ordered Gao Lishur to write a decree, and that was it. He turned back and continued to eat. As he ate, he asked, Xiaobao, do you know what's going on in Tubo? I haven't received any news for 10 days. My people have all left. Now, they're probably waiting in Idyll for Tubo to run out of food so that they can continue to trade with them. Does Your Majesty have any new news? Zhang Xiaobao swallowed a prawn ball, looked at Wang Wan, and said to Li Longji. Li Longji shook his head. I don't have any news. I'm afraid that if Tubo really suffers a great disaster this year, not only will they not trade with us, but they will also send troops to fight to the death. Then, can Cuckoo still defeat them? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly understood. So, Li Longji was worried about this matter. The 2 of them looked at each other, and Zhang Xiaobao said, It's unlikely, because even if they run out of food, they still have a lot of poultry. As long as they haven't eaten all the poultry, they won't be willing to touch them. We can immediately go over to help when the locust plague is serious. First, we can transport food to them and trade with them for poultry and good local products. Second, the locust plague is very frightening. Moreover, after this year, there might be more next year. Many of the eggs of the locusts have already entered the soil. If there are too many locusts and they fly to our great Tang, it won't be good. We can send people over to help and reduce a large portion of the locusts. We can wait until next year when the plague starts. Li Longji nodded. He felt cold towards Zhang Xiaobao's plan. It was too terrifying. He actually wanted Tubo to have a locust plague. How ruthless. If that's the case, then make arrangements in advance. Have someone send a letter quickly. Where's Xiao Bei? There's a prawn here. After saying that, Li Longji took out a prawn and shouted to Xiao Bei, who was running around like crazy. Chapter 756. Tubo, which Zhang Xiaobao had set his eyes on, had already been destroyed by the locusts. They were no longer worshipped as they were in the beginning. Poultry ate locusts. Hence, all the nobles and royals who raised poultry released them. Even if they would offend the gods, it was better than starving to death. Apart from releasing poultry, the slaves also made bags with sticks attached to the back to catch locusts during the day. At night, they would light bonfires to lure the locusts in and burn them to death. They were determined but it was too late. Once the locusts formed a large scale, it would not be easy to deal with them. The food they planted would be eaten. The grass and trees would be eaten as well. Wherever they went, there would not be a single trace of green left. Some of the locusts had even flown to Jinchuan. The people who Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arranged here were also busy. Fortunately, there were not many of them. The 7,000 slaves that Han Xianfeng brought did not enter Tang directly. Instead, they stayed in this area. One reason was to let them get used to the environment. The other reason was to train them to be loyal to the Zhang family and the Wang family. There were many young and strong slaves. When the time came, they could be used to farm or form an army. In Tang, it was impossible for the Zhang family and the Wang family to raise an army of 3,000 to 4,000 people. Now, they had joined the ranks of killing locusts. Fortunately, there was water and ice here. Many of the locusts that tried to fly over were frozen to death. Apart from these slaves, who would be formed into an army by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in the future, there were also the people who were farming here. If the game could not continue, the strength of these people would not be underestimated. Apart from this area, there was also Feng Province. There are not many people there, but the customs were different. When the time came, they could form an army at any time. However, Sanshui County and Shuzhou were different. They could not be too obvious there. Apart from these two places, there was Wing Province. The people there were all mountain villages. They did not have a good relationship with the local officials, but they were close to Zhangzhou. It was the same for Lu Zhou's army. Currently, Lu Zhou's army was made up of locals. If Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan needed them, he could summon them and show them what it meant to be a wolf army. The large-scale battle to exterminate the locusts began. The various Tubo nobles looked at the endless locusts and couldn't think of a better solution other than worry. They knew that this year was over again. Last year, they had been ruined by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They did not know what to do this year. Until now, they still did not know that this matter was caused by Zhang Xiaobao. They still thought that it was a real natural disaster. This time, there was no need for Zhang Xiaobao to send anyone over. Tubo was already thinking of borrowing more grain from the Great Tang. In the past, they would have just sent their soldiers, but this year, they did not dare to do so. It wasn't that they didn't want to. If the bodies of the Tubo people were as good as they were during the war last year, there wouldn't be a problem. The main thing was that after the autumn harvest last year, until now, they hadn't eaten their fill. Many of them could be slaves to the warriors. Some of them could even eat a little bit of food a day, as long as they didn't starve to death. Under such circumstances, how many soldiers could they gather? If there were tens of thousands of soldiers, it wouldn't be enough for Wang Wan to kill. The Tubo emissary had already set off and was about to enter the Great Tang territory with a heavy responsibility. However, no one knew what would happen when they arrived. Zhang Xiaobao's side also started to make the final preparations. The ships were transferred to the capital. There were a total of 20 ships. 5 of them were the biggest ships, while the rest were medium-sized ships. Those who had the opportunity to join also joined in, including Old Man Pai and the other 2. Old Man Chang had also been contacting Zhang Juling during this period of time. He talked about what happened in the past few years and also wanted to see his son. You should be over there, right? I wonder if I can see him and ask him how he is doing over there. When they were ready to set off, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of someone. It was Li Yu, the county magistrate of Changning County in Xizhou. They hadn't contacted each other for a long time. He still didn't know if Li Yu had fought with anyone over there. Wang Wan also thought of this person and said, I guess he's busy. We should be able to see him this time. Fenshui is not far from Changning County. It's just a little across the border. Li Longji has gone there. No matter what, he has to meet him, especially when he has governed over there well. How can he not show off? Send him a letter. It's a good opportunity for him to earn more money. Zhang Xiaobao wrote a letter and asked someone to send it to Li Yu on a fast horse. It was a very useful way to make money. If it was done well, he could make a lot of money. As for whether Li Yu would do it himself or ask someone else to do it, it didn't matter. As Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said, Li Yu did want to meet his uncle. However, the things in the county were not done yet. He wanted to show the emperor a very good county when he arrived. Even if it couldn't be as good as Sanshui County, it should be at least close. The roads were being repaired, the river was being dug, and the business was being done. Chongning County was neither big nor small. Liu planned to renovate all the houses in the county before the emperor arrived. If the emperor was happy and wanted to visit, it would be good for him. In order to get more money to do things, Liu asked for investment in the surrounding areas. He gave a lot of benefits. If they rented land and did business here, they could be exempted from taxes for 3 years. If they were willing to invest money to help build the place, they could continue to be exempted from taxes. Some businessmen were really tempted. They brought money to do business here. In fact, there weren't many good businesses here. One was transportation and the other was ceramics. The former was a supplement to the latter, and the latter was a blow to the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce. There were so many places, and the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce couldn't occupy all of them. They only occupied the resources of a small place, and other people might not sell all the resources to them. With the addition of other businessmen, the people of the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce couldn't bear it anymore. When the time came, even if they made different pottery, they couldn't raise the price. Without a high price, although they wouldn't lose money doing business here, they wouldn't make much money. So the 6 of them gathered together again to discuss. Should we take out 100,000 strings of cash and take more shares? Otherwise, if we continue like this, Liu will keep taking advantage of us. How much did we spend by renting his land and buying his mines? We can't do this anymore. President Tian said to the 5 people. The 5 of them were silent. They also realized that something was wrong, but they couldn't come up with any solution. Previously, they had used the cooperation with businessmen to get tax exemption. Not only did they not make any money, but they also lost a lot. It was clearly written in the contract that if they couldn't get tax exemption after the cooperation, the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce would have to bear all the losses of the businessmen. So many businessmen were pulled over, and they lost a lot of money, but they couldn't find a way to make up for it. Now, many businessmen were attracted by Liu's tax exemption, and the competition was getting more and more intense. If they couldn't come up with a useful solution, they would only help Liu prosper the local economy. What was the use of 10 years of tax exemption? Seeing that the 5 of them were silent, President Tian could only say, "Good plan. If we didn't get tax exemption for 10 years, we wouldn't even be able to keep our capital. We invested 50,000 strings of cash and spent a lot of money to buy a lot of resources. In the end, we can only make a little money. In the end, we pay taxes when we buy materials, and we get income when we rent the land. When the time comes for us to sell our pottery, we'll probably have to spend a lot of money on transportation. It's the same whether we get others to transport it or we do it ourselves. What I mean is, take out another 100,000 strings of cash. This time, we'll collect less iron, ore, and more clay. We'll sign a contract with the place that digs the clay. They have to supply us first before they can supply others. Or we can take 80%, and the others will take 20%. Let the businessmen who come later have no materials to use, and we won't have to worry about them competing with us. With the 100,000 strings of cash and the remaining 60,000 strings of cash, we'll take out 150,000 strings of cash to buy the clay. We can buy all the clay in the county in an instant, and no one will be able to get their hands on this resource within a few years." Now, the 5 of them understood the president's plan. They felt that it was a good idea and nodded in agreement. President Tian sent people to the Four Seas Academy to get the money while he personally went to find Liu. When he saw President Tian's haggard appearance, Liu was happy. Who asked the people of the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce to not cooperate properly. Since they had done it, they had to bear the consequences. Originally, he really wanted to support the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce during normal operations. However, since things had happened, they couldn't blame him for being ruthless. That was why he had taken the action of tax-free investment. In addition to this, there was also a follow-up plan. He had to force the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce to sell their shares to him at a lower price. Liu thought about this and revealed a warm smile to President Tian. "President Tian, you're free today? How many kills have you been burning? I'm waiting to make a lot of money." When the time comes, I definitely won't forget President Tian's help. Come, serve tea. President Tian looked at the tea and melon seeds that were served. He was indeed thirsty. He took a sip and said, Lord Li, haven't we been recruiting too many people recently? Moreover, many of them are people who also burn pottery. It's not easy for us to do business. How many? I think it's okay. Moreover, I haven't exempted them from taxes for 10 years like your Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce. I've only exempted them for 3 years. If they want to exempt more, they have to pay a bigger price. In fact, the Yamen has no other choice. Even if they have to spend money now, they have to do it. President Tian also knows that for a Chamber of Commerce, monopolization is the most profitable. However, for a county, competition between merchants is the most beneficial. I'm just waiting for 3 years to collect more taxes. Liu was lying through his teeth. President Tian naturally didn't believe him. Although it was tax-free for 3 years, renting land was money, right? Moreover, it was the kind of land that was rented. It was land that no one cultivated. The merchants who came first looked at the map and couldn't change what they chose. If there were other people on the land, they had to help them move and compensate them. This part of the money was not small. There was also the coal and wood used to make the kiln. This was another sum of money. For large transactions, the county wouldn't be short of taxes. The same was true for selling land. President Tian estimated that the tax revenue of Chongning County this year will be 20 times more than the previous year. In the past, there weren't so many merchants. The road was not easy to travel. Now, if a merchant wanted to build a kiln, he had to build that road first. As a result, many merchants came. Liu only needed to pay a little bit of money to connect all the roads. This was a good calculation. This was Zhang Xiaobao's real ability. He didn't need to set up such a big plan. After thinking for a while, President Tian had to stop mentioning this matter. After all, the contract didn't stipulate that other merchants were not allowed to come. He couldn't keep the money that he was supposed to pay. Therefore, he said to Liu, Lord Li, the Thousand Circles Chamber of Commerce is going to continue to use money to increase shares. Does Lord Li agree? Increase shares just like that? I agree. Wasn't it written in the contract? How much does President Tian want to increase? Liu thought that it would take some time for the other party to increase shares. It was good to increase shares. He would have more money in the county. Since the money was coming, he couldn't just leave it. If that was the case, his financial staff would tell him, I want to increase 100,000 strings of coins. President Tian gritted his teeth and said the number. The main reason was that he didn't know if he could achieve his goal after investing this amount of money. If he didn't have Zhang Xiaobao behind him, there shouldn't be a problem. However, with that person around, it seemed that anything could happen. In other words, my shares will become 25%, right? Okay, if I want to invest, I will tell you. Liu didn't object. This was what was written in the contract. Zhang Xiaobao had already analyzed it. Yes, if Lord Li thinks it's too little, we can give you half. President Tian was afraid that Liu would be unhappy, so he was prepared to lose some to monopolize the resources in the future. No, don't give me that. A business is a business. Do you look down on me? Do you think I'm a lord who will use my status to bully others? Liu hurriedly refused. What was the use of half? It was better to follow Xiaobao's plan. Sure enough, it would be a pity if he didn't make some money. President Tian was relieved. He casually talked about the pottery that was made over there, and it didn't stay for long. He said goodbye and left. Liu's advisor, Xiao Chong, came out from behind the screen. He was holding the plan that Zhang Xiaobao had written for him. His face was full of admiration. Lord, are you going to form your own caravan immediately and go to the surrounding counties to discuss business? The people from the Millennium Chamber of Commerce are about to take action. Go. I'll leave this matter to you. Taxes, a lot of taxes. Now the county will have money. The money that my brother and Xiao Bao invested can be earned back little by little. It would be good if we could find someone else to lend money. Now, we need to use the county's money to pay for it. This is misappropriation. Even if I borrow it myself and the people agree, I'll have to find a way to compensate in the future. Fortunately, no one will blame me. Which place doesn't misappropriate? Even the imperial court is shifting. Li Yu handed the matter to Xiao Chong. He felt that it was awkward to misappropriate public funds. He didn't have this feeling when he used to misappropriate public funds. Of course, this was not for free. He needed to use a few of his own businesses as collateral. Otherwise, with the current financial situation of the Yamen, without collateral, it would be difficult to explain to the people. When Li Longji and the capital got on the ship and set out, Zhang Xiaobao's letter to Li Yu had also arrived. Li Yu opened the letter and read it. He smiled happily and said to himself, Xiao Bao is indeed Xiao Bao. He lives up to his reputation. Good. Plant willows, plant a lot of them. Plant as much bamboo as you can. Then buy hay and stalks from this county and the surrounding counties. Wait for the big money. Thinking of this, he picked up the letter and read it again. The letter analyzed the future development of Chongning County. It said that as long as the merchants who invested money could earn money, they would not withdraw. This year, there might be enough other things to use. After all, the newly opened kiln needed to be tested to see how it was burned. Every kiln was different. Some were good, some were not. Naturally, the bad ones would need to be rebuilt. When all the kilns were tested and sold next year, that would be the real era of mass production. Pottery was not something that could be stored one by one. There had to be protective measures. What was the best thing to protect? Of course, it was bamboo and wicker baskets. There was also hay. There might be enough this year, but there would definitely be a shortage next year. In that case, it would be too late to prepare now. Whether it was to make money for oneself or to help the merchants transport the goods safely away as soon as possible, it had to be prepared in advance. Willows were easy to grow. Just stick a willow branch on them, and they grew quickly. Bamboo was even more so. In addition to this suggestion, another one was for Chongning to start making honeycomb briquettes and use them to burn. The remaining firewood could be made into thick paper. When the time came, the Zhang family and Wang family would provide a material for the paper pulp. After it was pressed, it could also be used in pottery. Li Yu read it over and over again. Every time he read it, he felt comfortable. This was a really good way to make use of the resources. After the people of the Millennium Chamber of Commerce used up the increased capital, they could earn a lot of money again. No, I have to prepare early. I have to write these things down. When Uncle arrives at Finshui, I will have something to say to him. Having made up his mind, Li Yu arranged for people to collect enough hay and plant a large number of willows and bamboos. At the same time, he began to write a report. He listed all kinds of data so that when the fleet arrived, he could speak smoothly. Zhang Xiaobao didn't know how far Li Yu could go. He didn't plan to make money in Chongning. When the fleet set off, he was arranged to be on Li Longji's ship. Xiao Bei and the others followed him. The ship went through the Chao Canal. When they reached a place where they could change channels, they would enter Finshui. It was not easy for Li Longji to come out. At first, there were many people who objected. Finally, after Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan agreed to pay, the people who objected agreed. Otherwise, it would have taken a lot of effort. As soon as he arrived on the ship, Li Longji didn't want to be bored in the cabin. He took a set of things and sat on the deck at the bow. He held a telescope in his hand and looked around. The current was following the current. When they entered Finshui River, it would be against the current. Therefore, the ship moved very fast. In addition to the guards on the ship, there were also Jinwu guards on the shore to follow them on horseback in case there was an ambush. A day and a half later, at noon, Li Longji still went outside to sit and look at the scenery of his country. While looking, he found that there was a bridge over the river in front of him. Li Shi, do you know when we got out of this bridge? Li Longji asked Gao Li Shi, who was standing next to him. Gao Li Shi didn't know either. He looked at it in confusion, shook his head, and replied, I don't know. Who was so kind to build a bridge for us? There are quite a lot of people on the bridge. Why don't we stop at the head of the bridge? Just like what Gao Li Shi said, there were many people on this bridge that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. There were also people using small carts to push goods. It was more strenuous to ride a horse because the bridge would sway back and forth. It was an iron chain bridge. Gao Li Shi didn't know, so he asked Luo Bin to come over. Luo Bin had gone to other places to pass on an imperial decree. He was gone for more than 10 days, so Gao Li Shi thought that he would know. The little eunuch Luo Bin hurried over and looked up at the bridge in front of them. He said in surprise, "Aya, it's so fast. When I passed by last time, it wasn't fixed yet. The Zhang family and the Wang family are really fast." Hearing him say this, Li Longji and Gao Lishir both knew what was going on. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan probably saw that it was inconvenient to travel here, so they had people build a bridge. It was indeed very fast. In just a month, an iron chain bridge had been built. It was so comfortable to do things with money. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are really kind. This bridge must have cost a lot of money to build, right? Were the two sides of the bridge supported by? Li Longji looked carefully at the bridge, praised it, and then asked, "Replying to your majesty, the two sides are supported by cement, steel bars, and pebbles. This is the only way to stretch the iron chain. Even if 100 people stand on it, it won't break. In addition, I heard that in the future, there will be more maintenance, but as Luo Bin spoke, he didn't know whether he should continue or not. He looked at Gao Lishir. "Why are you looking at me? If you have something to say, just say it to your majesty." Gao Lishir glared at him. "Aren't you framing me? You can't say what you have to say. Look at me, it's so infuriating." Li Longji didn't care about this small matter. He laughed and waited for Luo Bin to continue. "It's just that it's not easy to travel across this bridge. It costs money. It costs 1 copper coin to cross it twice. You can buy it for a month or a year. The longer you buy it, the cheaper it is. If you don't have money, you can also use goods. For example, an egg can cross it 3 times. If you buy a goose egg, you can cross it at least 5 times. Also, why does it cost money? Where are Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? Call them over for me. Do they lack money? I've already given them money. How can an egg count?" When Li Longji heard that they had to pay to cross the bridge, he was in no mood to praise Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When he asked someone to call them over, he raised his binoculars and looked carefully. Of course, there was a person sitting at each end of the bridge. They were waiting for someone to throw money into a box beside them. There were also several baskets. At this time, 2 adults were bringing a child across the bridge. They didn't pay and took out an egg and put it in the baskets. "Lishir, what do you think this is? The commoners are just passing by, but they are charged. Do the Zhang family and Wang family really lack money? If the commoners spread this, their family's reputation will be ruined. They can take out so much money to build the canal and the road in Jiangnan province. They even provided development funds for the villages that helped pave the road. Why do they have to charge people for the canal in the capital?" Li Longji said angrily to Gao Lishir. No wonder Luo Bin was hesitant. So this was the reason. Gao Lishir also frowned. He also didn't understand. There were many people passing by, but how long would it take to earn back the money for the bridge? He couldn't answer for a while. After a while, he said, "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that the people guarding the bridge are charging Xiaobao and Cuckoo behind their backs. When Xiaobao and Cuckoo come over, we can ask them." "Yes, ask them. Have them tell the truth." Li Longji was still looking at the people passing by on the bridge. No matter how he thought about it, he felt uncomfortable. Not long after, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came over hand in hand. "Your Majesty is enjoying the cool air here. Your Majesty, look at the bridge in front. Cuckoo and I built it when we came over. We will build more in the future, including the river that your Majesty was going to pass by." Zhang Xiaobao pointed at the bridge that Li Longji was looking at and said leisurely. Gao Lishir looked at the two of them and asked, "Xiaobao, tell me the truth. Is that bridge charging people money?" "Yes, it's very cheap. It only charges 1 copper coin for 2 trips. If you only go once, you'll be given a certificate. You can use it whenever you want." Zhang Xiaobao nodded and admitted. He even explained how the copper coin would be split in half. Li Longji put down his binoculars and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "You're lacking in money? What will the commoners think? Do you still want your reputation? Immediately tell the other side that they're not allowed to take money. If they've already taken money, just forget about it." "That won't do. If we don't take money, won't we be wasting money? My family isn't lacking in money. Based on the current situation, we'll need 2 years to earn back the money we spent on the bridge. At that time, a portion of the money we earn will be used for maintenance, and a portion will be used to arrange houses at the bridgehead so that people can rest. My family isn't counting on this to make a fortune, but we can't not take it. In the future, all bridges will be like this. If it works, then we'll be building roads. Caravans will also have to pay tolls. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about Li Longji's glare. He had to take the money. Li Longji thought that Zhang Xiaobao would immediately comply. He didn't expect him to refuse. He opened his mouth and was about to give another order when Gao Lishur said, "Xiaobao, there has to be a reason, right? Since you're not lacking in money, why are you still taking it?" "Of course there's a reason. My family isn't lacking in money, but that doesn't mean that everyone isn't lacking in money. Many merchants want to do good deeds, but once they invest the money, they'll have to pay maintenance fees every year to repair the bridge and roads. It's fine if the business is doing well, but if it suddenly goes bad, then the bridge and roads will gradually be abandoned. If they're like me and let the passers-by pay a bit of money, then even if the merchants don't have money in the future, they'll still have tolls to maintain the bridge and roads. Besides, this money should be collected. There's a boatman sitting on both sides of the bridgehead who ferries on the canal. He collects money when he ferries. Now that there's a bridge, he doesn't need to ferry anymore. He could just sit on the bridge and collect money. When the time comes, he'll have a share of the money. It's not much different from ferrying people. Without this bridge, wouldn't it cost money to take a boat? It costs even more. That's why many people would rather take a detour than pay to cross the river. It's cheaper for us, especially for those who travel frequently. It's only 20 copper coins a month and 200 copper coins a year. It's so cheap. Zhang Xiaobao was planning to charge the toll to the end. Wang Wan chimed in from the side. Isn't that so? If we only think about doing good deeds, how can we let the merchants who suffer losses lose the ability to do it again? Xiaobao and I are preparing to earn back the money we spent on the bridge. When we earn more money, we'll continue to use the money to repair bridges and roads. We'll gather the wealth of the world's travelers and build roads for them. This time, Li Longji didn't say anything. He didn't ask Zhang Xiaobao to cancel the toll. Instead, he thought about what the two of them said. At this time, the boat had already reached the bridge. The people on the bridge had already been cleared. What if someone spat on the bridge? Li Longji raised his head and looked at the metal chains and ropes. He felt that what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said was right. If it were another merchant who said this, he would think that he was quibbling. Were there merchants who didn't care about money? However, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said it, no one would doubt it. They really didn't lack money. Every year, they took out a large sum of money to build the infrastructure. It was impossible for them to count on collecting bridge and road tolls to make a fortune. Gao Lishur was also considering this problem. He was tempted by what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said. Yes, a merchant who didn't ask for anything in return wouldn't last long. Was there even 1 in 100 merchants? Thus, he said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, if what Xiaobao and Cuckoo said is true, there will be more people who are willing to build bridges and roads in the future. Then, there will be no need to worry about Great Tang's roads not being smooth. Countless merchants will take the initiative to build bridges and roads. In a few years, there will be roads and bridges everywhere in Great Tang." Li Longji nodded. If the imperial court really had to fork out money to build so many roads and bridges, the imperial court wouldn't be able to afford it. Even if they could, they wouldn't be able to maintain it. Thinking that he had more or less figured it out, he was just about to agree when he suddenly thought of a crucial problem. He asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "Then what if many merchants build roads and bridges just to make money? Won't the wealth of the commoners be earned by them? Take this bridge of yours, for example. You can recoup your capital in 2 years. I don't think anyone would build a bridge on the Yellow River, right? They won't be able to afford it, so they can only build it in a place like this. What if they deliberately raise the price? In a moment, I'll pay the taxes and write a document. As long as the road and bridge fees are earned, they will be paid to the local authorities first. However, this money will be paid directly to the capital, and the local authorities won't be able to embezzle it. In this way, it will take a longer time to recoup the capital. With such a heavy tax, it will probably take 4 years to recoup the capital. After recouping the capital, they will still have to continue paying taxes, and the transportation fees will be reduced. I'll write this clearly in the contract. When the time comes, His Majesty will be able to gather a large amount of money and use this money to do other things. Zhang Xiaobao didn't need to think too much to know how to deal with this problem. Wang Wan added, indeed. The only problem is that no matter how good a policy is, it still needs people to carry it out. For example, concealing the truth of the matter. Once there is enough money, many officials are even willing to take the risk of being executed. Hearing the two's words, Li Longji sighed. He agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's point, but he was also worried about Wang Wan's point. That was indeed the case. Who could guarantee that the officials wouldn't be greedy? They would always have a wishful thinking, even if they knew that they could be executed. Unable to come up with a solution, Li Longji looked at Gao Lisher. Gao Lisher had his own considerations. He said, Your Majesty, you can let many officials who don't have positions walk around the place. One is to monitor whether the roads and bridges have been built and whether they have received money. The other is to find a job for them. If someone wants to bribe them, it's also fine. Your Majesty can let different people walk around the place every half a month to see if they can afford it. You can even use this to link it to an evaluation. It's like the officials in the county supervising each other. As long as someone is found to be doing this, they can report it and get a chance to be promoted. Although it can't be completely stopped, it will definitely have a good effect. Occasionally, you can send people to check it out. When the time comes, you can kill a few to make the officials more obedient. In truth, Li Longji had already approved of this plan, but he still asked Zhang Xiaobao, Is this plan feasible? Zhang Xiaobao nodded. If we can harden our hearts and kill them, we won't have to fear that too many officials will make mistakes. What we fear is that we will corrupt them from the root. The imperial court will have to consider favors. For example, if a certain general or official who has made great contributions does something wrong, the imperial court won't be able to kill them directly. That would be the most dangerous. We have to kill them. No matter who pleads for leniency, we won't allow it. Let's try it out in the various rivers of Jiangyi province first and see how it goes. After that, we'll promote it to the entire Great Tang. Let's start with you all. Write a plan for collecting taxes on the Iron Chain Bridge. Li Longji wasn't muddle-headed. He didn't plan to promote this plan to the entire Great Tang, but he wouldn't be satisfied if he didn't do it. How much money would that cost? If he could earn it, why wouldn't he? The national treasury was indeed much better than before, but it wasn't easy to start a war. Besides, there were many other things that needed to be done, such as the construction of the canal. Zhang Xiaobao nodded in agreement. Collecting taxes was fine, but he didn't expect to make money on the bridge. Moving forward, the true source of income was the markets on both sides of the bridge. Those were tax-free, and the imperial court wouldn't care. After resolving one of his worries, Li Longji turned to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and asked, How many bridges can be built on the Yellow River? You all will fork out a portion, and the imperial court will fork out a portion. If it really isn't possible, the imperial court can also fork out the money. After all, your family has been spending a lot recently. That depends on what kind of bridge it is. If it's like the one on the Yangtze, it won't be possible to build it. It just so happened that someone was causing trouble over there, so a bridge was built. If no one is causing trouble over here, do you want to change the course of the Yellow River? How many things would that delay? Even though there's a bridge on the Yangtze, compared to the losses back then, the current income is too little. Zhang Xiaobao was worried that Li Longji would want to build such a bridge. How much money did he spend back then? Who would change the course of the river for no reason? Wang Wan also added, If it's an iron suspension bridge, it's still possible. Just choose a narrow place and build it. However, compared to the canal, it will cost more money. If the imperial court isn't in a hurry, after the autumn harvest, Xiaobao and I can raise the money to do this. How do you raise the money? Li Longji was still worried about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He was afraid that they would make life difficult for their families because of the money they had to fork out. Tubo, Japan, and Xinyuan Island. Tubo is finished today. We can use food to exchange for a lot of resources. With resources, there's money. Japan is waiting for the silver or to be shipped back this time. Xiao Bao is also going to make a move. There's silver and gold over there, including Xi and Luo. The people from Xi and Luo are now playing games with Li Yu in Chongning County of Xiaizhou. Their purpose of investing here is not pure. They want to cheat. Xiao Bao and I have given Li Yu ideas. Next, it's time to counterattack. Don't think of taking advantage of us for no reason. Wang Wan pointed to the west, east, and south as she explained to Li Longji. Li Longji suddenly understood. That's right, Xiao Bao is still scheming. He didn't scheme against the people of Great Tang, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't scheme against other countries. If one didn't know what Zhang Xiaobao did to the surrounding countries, it would be easy for people to think that Xiaobao was only SOSO in terms of economy and didn't have any good ideas. It was because of this comparison that people understood that Xiaobao or the experts of the Zhang family were thinking about Great Tang. There were many things that they couldn't do, but were unwilling to do. Thinking of this, Li Longji suddenly felt a little embarrassed. It's not good to always ask you to fork out money, right? It's fine, as long as His Majesty agrees to let us work hard to open a bank. Oh, a bank, it's fine. If His Majesty allows us to operate the bank as usual, we will take care of the bridge of the Yellow River. Zhang Xiaobao was originally worried that someone would snatch the bridge from him. Now that he had found an opportunity, it was worth it even if he had to fork out 1,000,000 strings of coins to repair the bridge. Besides, he didn't need to spend that much money. What bank? Li Longji had a vague feeling that things weren't that simple. Now that he heard Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan casually mention something, he had to think deeper. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could only selectively tell Li Longji and Gao Lishur about the bank. The purpose was to facilitate business transactions, promote economic prosperity, reduce transportation costs and risks, and at the same time, earn some money to support their families. Now that the price of cotton had risen, Xiao Bei and the others hadn't made new clothes yet. After hearing this, Li Longji eliminated the previous few tasks of serving others. The one that left the deepest impression on him was to earn some money. He didn't believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were willing to fork out so much money to repair the bridge just to earn some money. Their past was still vivid in his mind. How'd they get the good farm in Fengzhou? How did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each have an official? How did the east of Jinchuan and the west of Great Tang, including the desert, become Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's territory? Thus, Li Longji didn't directly agree. Instead, he said, "Let me think about this." And fine by Go and the others. I have something to ask. Then we'll go back. We still have to cook. Wang Wan dragged Zhang Xiaobao and left. After the two left, Li Longji waited for Old Man Pai and the others to arrive. He was thinking hard about the relationship between the Yellow River Bridge and the bank. When he turned his head, he saw Gao Lishur looking at the scenery in boredom. He asked, "Lishur, do you know what's going on with the bank? Why do I feel that something is wrong? Listening to them, they don't earn much. Is that true?" Gao Lishur thought about it and replied, "Your Majesty, I don't think it's that simple. Perhaps they can earn a lot of money, but I know that no matter how much money Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan earn, they don't spend much on themselves." Li Longji responded. At this time, Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao arrived. Chapter 757. Old Man Pai didn't hide anything and directly told him about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan setting up a bank in Baoxing County. Old Man Yao also echoed. It said that the bank will be very useful in the future, but Xiaobao and Cuckoo didn't say anything. I've asked them twice, and they both said that we'll know when the time comes. Li Longji was now more concerned than the tolling of the bridge and Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanting to build the Yellow River Iron Chain Bridge. The tolling of the tolling had already been decided, and they just had to wait and see the results. The bridge on the Yellow River was nothing more than money. Setting up a bank was new, and they didn't know the final use of it. "Lishur, can you ask them?" Li Longji couldn't figure it out himself, so he sent Gao Lishur. Gao Lishur was in a difficult position, but he still seriously thought about it and shook his head. "I might not be able to. Maybe Xiao Bao and Cuckoo haven't perfected it yet, or else they would have said more benefits." I'll ask them later. Yao Chong suddenly said, Your Majesty, why don't we also set up a bank after Xiao Bao and Cuckoo set up a bank and follow their method? No, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo mean that they should set it up alone. It's best if no one else in the Tang Empire can set it up. Gao Lisher began to side with his godson. Old Man Pai also said, How is that possible? Do we have to write it down in the law? If others learn to set it up, let them do so. But the imperial court must not set it up, unless Xiao Bao and Cuckoo deliberately find it and say that it can be set up, then it can be set up in the name of the imperial court. Otherwise, it will be too late to regret once it's wrong. Li Longji understood Bai Go's words. It was because the policy was good, but once it was passed down, it was hard to control what the subordinates did, especially when faced with a large amount of money. If the executor was greedy, he could check and take it back. If he lost it, it was useless to kill him. While the four of them were talking, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang were also chatting while cooking. There were too many people, so it was impossible for them to specially make stir-fried dishes. 2 people prepared to make wontons. This was fast. After the stuffing was done, they used a pair of chopsticks or a small piece of bamboo. Zhang Xiaobao was in charge of the live stuffing and the dumplings, while Wang Wan was in charge of the other supplementary ingredients. It was impossible for them to make the dumplings for Li Longji that were sold at street stalls with only some seaweed sprinkled on them and nothing else. Swish, 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 swish. Zhang Xiaobao moved quickly and covered the room with a curtain. He asked Wang Wan, Didn't Wu Huifei send someone to look for you secretly? No, I told you when you looked for me. I don't know what she's thinking. Maybe she hasn't found the opportunity yet. I feel uncomfortable when I think of giving her the wonton I made. Should I put something else in it? Wang Wan said without turning her head. She was choosing pickled mustard greens that had been marinated for a long time. She had to use the most tender parts of the mustard greens. Zhang Xiaobao pulled down the curtain and continued wrapping the wontons. That works too. I'll make some croton powder. Then we'll escape immediately. We'll go to Luzhou and start a rebellion. Li Longji must be very troubled. I think that's a good idea. It's impossible to taste the croton powder immediately. How about we put some diamond foam in it? Wang Wan chimed in. It's better to be careful. Don't let her get anything on us. Otherwise, we'll have to spend a lot of effort to deal with her. It's troublesome. Zhang Xiaobao did not continue with the conversation. It was impossible. Why would he want to harm Li Longji? The fleet continued to move forward. After a few days, they could see people repairing the bridge on both sides of the river. When they moved forward again, they finally saw the iron chain bridge. It was just enough time. Someone was laying planks on it. The further they went, the better the planks were. When they were about to reach Chongning, there were already people walking on the bridge. In Chongning County, Liu had been preparing for a long time. He wanted to bring Li Longji to Chongning to have a look. Although Fen River did not flow through Chongning, it was still more than 10 miles away from Chongning County. Normally, the people who would welcome them along the way would be from Linfen County. If it were someone else, they would have given up when they saw the distance. However, Liu had no intention of giving up. He felt that his Chongning County was the best. Although Linfen was in the center of the province, it was not as developed as Chongning County. Currently, every family in Chongning County had a new house. The roads in the county were well connected. It would be a pity if he did not bring Li Longji here to have a look. Relying on the fact that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also on the ship, Liu had an idea. In order to welcome Li Longji, he spent 50,000 strings of coins to decorate the ready-made house. It looked like a lot, but Liu did not feel bad at all. He spent most of the money on lanterns and curtains. He gave them to the residents in the county. After the lanterns were used, he folded them and put them away. They could still be used during the new year. He changed the curtains and made a quill cover. The people who knew why Liu had so much money were the people from the Chantry Chamber of Commerce. In order to monopolize the supply of pottery in Chongning County, they signed 3-year supply contracts with several places in the county. They were very happy when they signed the contracts. They thought that Liu was stupid and did not think of this. In the end, they did not spend 150,000 strings of coins. They spent 120,000 strings of coins. They did succeed, at least within 3 days after the contracts were signed. They increased the local price of pottery by 50%. However, before they could be happy for a few more days, pottery from other counties came in and lowered the price by 40%. The team that transported the pottery was under Li Yu's banner. At that price, they signed 3-year contracts with other businessmen who wanted to open a kiln. Chairman Tian knew that the pottery was not only in Chongning County, but it was expensive to transport it from other counties. In the end, he sent people to the neighboring counties and found that the pottery was not worth a single copper coin. Li Yu asked people to go to the neighboring counties to discuss with the officials and build a road for them. Then, he bought a place with pottery. What was most admirable was that once the road was completed, it would pass by the place where the clay was produced. In other words, Li had spent money to build a road that was convenient for transporting clay, and he had gotten a place for free. In this way, the Yamen in Chongning County was rich, and so was Li Yu. The tax collected and the profits from selling the pottery could be used to decorate the county. At this time, Li Yu was waiting for the arrival of the fleet. He had sent people to check in advance. He was excited and worried. It was not that he had never seen Li Longji before, but that meeting was different from this one. This time, he was meeting with political achievements. Little Chong, you must keep an eye on the people in the county and the outsiders, especially the foreigners, including the businessmen. You can't make any mistakes. You did a good job exchanging the road for the land. You've already paid back the money you used to build the road. This time, I'll let you do it again. It's up to you whether it succeeds or not. Li Yu said to Little Chong, who had just returned from making arrangements in the county. Little Chong puffed out his chest and promised, "Don't worry, sir. I've already arranged for people to protect the emperor. No one will come within 1,000 steps of him." Li Yu felt sad when he thought of this. He had too few subordinates, only 400. He was not like his brotherly son, who could have as many subordinates as he wanted. It was not a problem to have a few thousand subordinates. After all, he had been adopted as the only son. Plus, he was rich, so he was treated differently. Seeing Li Yu in a daze, Little Chong continued, "Sir, should we find a few people to disguise themselves as commoners and put in a good word for the emperor? Well, think of a way to contact Zhang Xiaobao and ask him." Li Yu hesitated and said. Chapter 758. Li Yu was busy preparing to welcome the emperor. The people in the county were also looking forward to it. The emperor, it is already a blessing for you to come to the county. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan really became full-time chefs. They cooked for the important people in the team every day. In the end, they just ate hot pot or barbecue every 2 days to save time. Gao Lisher did come to ask Zhang Xiaobao about opening a bank. Zhang Xiaobao could tell his godfather some truth, but he didn't say too much. He just said that the bank would be helpful to the entire Tang Empire in the future. As for what kind of help it would be, he only revealed that a bank could be opened all over the Tang Empire, and that it would be enough to make silk, the currency, gradually withdraw from the market. Gao Lisher, who originally thought that he was very smart, didn't understand why silk could be withdrawn from the market with a bank. When they were about to arrive at Linfen, Gao Lisher finally summarized what he heard from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He found Li Longji, who was still unwilling to stay in the cabin, and ran to the deck to take a good look at his country. Bai Go and Yao Chong, who weren't invited at the beginning, were also beside him. Even Old Man Chong, Zhang Jiuling's former butler, was allowed to come. It wasn't because of Zhang Jiuling, but because Old Man Chong was close to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. If he wanted to understand Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan more, he had to start from the people around them. He had to be able to tell Li Longji everything. The people in the inner courtyard of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan naturally couldn't tell him everything. Because they were traveling along the river, the most they could see on both sides of the river were the banks and the rice paddies in the distance. Some of the paddies were slightly yellow, while others were still green. Li Longji held the binoculars in his hand and couldn't get enough of it. He was satisfied with what he saw and wanted to share his happiness with others. He said to Bai Go, Yao Chong, and Old Man Chong, "Look at the Tang Empire. In less than a month, it will be golden and the people will live a good life." In the past, if they knew that the imperial treasury was already very rich, Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao would definitely flatter them. However, they had always been by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's side, so they naturally knew that even if the imperial court was rich, it did not mean that every commoner was rich. There were rich people, and there was no lack of poor people. This was especially true for the poor. They could only eat a mouthful of rice. They were far from reaching the point where every family could have a new house and eat meat for every meal. Not to mention how much savings he had. Even if there was a family in Zhuangzi whose food was moldy and whose money was rotten, they did not share it with the people around them who still needed to dig up some wild vegetables to fill their stomachs. Thinking of this, Old Man Pai could not follow Li Longji's words. Instead, he asked Li Longji, "Your Majesty, what kind of life do you think is a good life for the commoners?" Li Longji really did not know how to answer this kind of question. Everyone had a different definition of happiness. After thinking about it, Li Longji said, "I think that if the commoners have clothes to wear and don't starve, that is a good life. Oh, if they can build 2 more rooms so that it is not crowded, that would be even better. We can't let the commoners eat and wear the same clothes as us. What does official Bai think?" Old Man Pai still did not follow Li Longji's words. He asked again, "Your Majesty, where do you think the commoners are living the best life now?" Naturally, it's Sanshui County. Although I haven't been there, I've seen the model. Every family there has a good house. As long as the commoners want to eat meat, they can eat meat. If they want to eat fish, they can eat fish. Even the prawns in the sea can be eaten if they are willing to spend a little more money. Don't tell me all the commoners in Great Tang are like that. Li Longji said this without thinking. He did not know the specifics of Luzhou's situation. It was the same in Shuzhou. However, Sanshui County was close by. Moreover, there was a model. He could find out if he wanted to. After saying this, without waiting for Old Man Pai to say anything, Li Longji suddenly understood and said, "I understand. Sanshui County is not only good in terms of food and clothes, but also because all the children there can go to school. Moreover, they don't need to pay for medical treatment. It's a good thing. It can be said that it is the best county in the world. However, not all places in Great Tang can be like Sanshui County. After all, there's only one Zhang family and one Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are only a couple. We can't let all the local officials reach their level." Li Longji's eyes were filled with yearning as he spoke those words. If all of the regional officials were as capable as the Zhang clan and Wang clan, he would be able to lead his troops in a battle and conquer even more territories. When he saw that he had achieved his goal, Old Man Pai said, "Your Majesty is right. We should let the people of Great Tang be like Sanshui County. It may seem difficult, but it's not. As long as we can produce more food, and as long as there are more people raising poultry and livestock, the price of things will naturally fall. Moreover, Zhang family and Wang family are currently looking for places to plant and cultivate medicinal herbs. In the future, many people will naturally benefit. If we want to succeed, we will succeed. If we don't, we will cripple. Everything is like this. Lord Bai, what you said is what this subject wants to say as well." Old Man Yao chimed in from the side. He had the same idea as Old Man Pai. He wanted Li Longji to be more concerned. He did not think that the people of Great Tang were living a good life just because they had more food and more money. The goal could not be set so small. There had to be a comparison. Sanshui County was the real good life. The two of you are too kind. I understand. In the future, I will be strict with the officials and not be soft-hearted. Li Longji thought of what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said the other day. Any good policy needed to be implemented by people. He had already decided to send more people to patrol various places. He had to constantly send people to every place. If the people patrolling later found that a place had made a mistake before the previous patrolling person arrived, then the previous patrolling person would also be unlucky. Although there were many people sent and the expenses were high, no matter how high the expenses were, it could not compare to the amount of money that local officials could get from corruption and accepting bribes. If they did not take bribes and sell a part of the national resources at a low price, It would be enough to support the salaries of the patrolling people. When Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao saw that the emperor was so easy to talk to, they were happy. They flattered him together and began to talk about the autumn harvest today. At this time, Gao Lisher came over and looked at Li Longji. Seeing that Li Longji was in a good mood, he said, "Your Majesty, I have asked Xiaobao and Cuckoo. After thinking for a few days, I have a rough idea. I can tell you now." "Oh, is it about the bank?" After Gao Lisher said this, Li Longji remembered that there was such a thing. He had almost forgotten about it in the past few days. "Yes," Xiaobao said, "that as long as the bank is opened in the future, our dynasty will no longer need to use silk as money. After all, the damage of silk is too great. In order to ensure the status of silk, the imperial court has already taken out a lot of money to balance it. Also, silk accounts for a certain proportion of the rent collected. The amount of silk lost every year is the imperial court's loss. Moreover, we have to spend extra money to think of ways to not let the silk go moldy so quickly. In the long run, the Tang Empire will not be able to bear it." Gao Lisher explained the disadvantages of using silk. In fact, even if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not mention it, everyone knew that using silk as a currency was very inconvenient. A bolt of silk was always used as 200 copper coins. It was not so comfortable to transport it. If one wanted to buy something that cost 500 copper coins, they had to carry 3 bolts of silk. What if they were drenched by the rain? What if they were roasted by the sun for too long and became brittle? Furthermore, if they were to use 3 bolts of silk to buy something that cost 500 copper coins, the other party would have to give them 100 copper coins. Nowadays, the common people were not willing to accept silk. If not for the imperial court's order to force the sale of silk, no one would accept it. Hearing Gao Lisher's words, Li Longji nodded. "Then, Lisher, did you ask how to solve this problem? Our dynasty has very little copper coins and very little gold and silver. Other than silk, what else can we use as money? We can't possibly use money like in ancient times, right? Or cast iron coins. Naturally, we can't cast iron coins. There are many skilled craftsmen nowadays. Even the Kaiyuan Tongbao is cast with copper, not to mention iron, which is even cheaper than copper, unless we use steel to make it." Gao Lisher first rejected the idea of using iron to make money, then said, "Xiaobao said that he is gathering the best craftsmen in Tang. As long as no one makes trouble, he and Cuckoo can increase Tang's national strength by several times in a short period of time. They say that they are copying the Industrial Revolution model." This subject doesn't know what the Industrial Revolution model is, but I feel that it should be very powerful. The model of the Zhang family and Wang family has never been simple. Therefore, this subject intends to send more craftsmen to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. They must be flexible and not inflexible. When Li Longji heard that the national strength could be increased by several times, his interest was piqued. Suddenly, he remembered that this was not what they were talking about, so he changed the topic and asked, "Previously, you were talking about silk. What does it have to do with the Industrial Revolution?" "In reply to your Majesty, it has to do with it. Xiaobao and Cuckoo want to use industrial products as their currency. It will be difficult for others to imitate them. In the future, they will not use silk as money, and they will not release copper coins and gold and silver. This subject doesn't think that Xiaobao and Cuckoo can't do it. What this subject is worried about is that once they make a currency to replace copper coins and silk, won't they be able to make as much money as they want? In addition, the banks are under their control. How will the imperial court control them?" This was the key point that Gao Lisher had thought about for a few days. It was only Xiaobao and Cuckoo who suggested this. If it was someone else who suggested it, he would have directly ordered people to arrest them. If money was not controlled by the imperial court, then it would be chaotic. Who would rule the world? Today, he suggested this because he wanted to see if there was any way, because Xiaobao did not say what to do next. When Gao Lisher said this, not only was Li Longji shocked, even Old Man Pai and the other 2 people gasped. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's idea was too bold. Could it be that they wanted Tang dynasty? "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that we should ask Xiaobao and Cuckoo to come over and ask them clearly. Perhaps there are other things that they haven't said yet. Old Man Pai was worried that the emperor would punish Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in a fit of anger, so he reminded him. Old Man Yao also said worriedly, "This subject thinks that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan won't do that. Otherwise, this subject wouldn't have told General Gao." After Li Longji recovered from his shock, he was not as angry as Old Man Pai and the other two people thought. He still believed in Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The two of them had always put what they wanted to do on the surface and never avoided it. Occasionally, they would calculate and exchange with each other. It was just a game, and there was no harm in Tang Dynasty. After hearing Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao's words, he said, "We'll ask again when we eat. There's no need to think about who will be in charge of the money. I think that Xiao Bao will be in charge of the money. Now that I'm not the only one in charge of the casting of the copper coins, Zhang Xiaobao will be in charge." When Gao Lishur and the others heard this, they felt that it was right. Now that the emperor was not in charge of making the money himself, he would be exhausted to death. Similarly, he would let others take care of the matter and supervise each other. In the future, if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to make money, he would let them do it and let them make money for the imperial court. After feeling relieved, the few people looked at the surrounding scenery again. There was an iron chain bridge in front of them. Along the way, they had seen several of them. The only difference was that today, other than the iron chain bridge, there were many people gathered on the other side of the bridge. Some were carrying poles, some were carrying baskets, and some were carrying baskets. Children were running around, and adults were talking to people there. With Qian Li's eyes, they could see clearly. There were many people doing business there, but there were no houses. They just put things on the ground and shouted from time to time to attract people to take a look. They were either using money or bartering. It was very busy. To be precise, it was a mess. Fortunately, there were people patrolling there. Occasionally, they would let people who were not in line with the other stalls move back. "This is a market?" Old Man Chong, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. After saying this, he looked nervously at the emperor. He did not have an official position, so he could not speak casually. Linfen County's Fanyang Village's farmers market. Li Longji saw the banner above the place where the group of people were. These were the words written on the banner. "Your Majesty, I will send someone to ask. Also, Liu is waiting in front. He said that he wants Her Majesty to go to his Chongning County to take a look. The development there has been good recently." Not knowing what the farmer's market was, Gao Lishur began to ask people. At the same time, he did not forget to mention Liu. "Oh, eldest brother's fifth son? Well, let's go and take a look." Li Longji agreed without hesitation. In fact, Liu is the sixth son. However, because his elder brother was adopted by someone else, he became the fifth son. Very soon, the people Gao Lishur sent to gather information returned. At this time, the fleet had stopped at the bridge. Liu had already brought many people to wait on the shore. The eyes of the guards swept back and forth, as if they were looking at an assassin who wanted to assassinate the emperor. Li Longji did not disembark immediately. It was almost time for dinner. If he disembarked now, he would be hungry when he reached Chongning County. He planned to eat first. He could not stay long. At most, he would go this afternoon and stay in Chongning County for the night. Tomorrow, he would have to come back and continue to go to Jinyang. Li Longji had not seen Liu for a long time. He ordered someone to call Liu over while he listened to the report of the person who went to inquire. "Your Majesty, the farmer's market over there is a tax-free place for local farmers and craftsmen. It's held on the 5th day of every month. The previous one was on this side of the bridge, and the next one is on the other side of the bridge. The crossing fee is very cheap, and there is no management fee. According to the people who are doing business, even if it's not on the 5th day, people who are free will still come here to buy their produce. Many people say that this place is good. Without the bridge, it would be inconvenient to travel. In the past, when they had a lot of food, they would have to carry it to the county. It would take 10 days to half a month to get there and back. Unlike this market, it's quite a distance away from the county, and there is no tax. Therefore, people are willing to come here. There is also a market further away." Hearing the words of the person who went to inquire, Li Longji did not say much. He nodded to show that he understood and continued to wait for Li Yu to come. It did not take long for Li Yu to come with Little Worm. The other officials in Chongning County were not summoned, so they could not follow. They could only wait for the emperor to come ashore. Only then would they have the chance to see him. Little Worm could come because he did not want to see the emperor. He came specifically to see Zhang Xiaobao and wanted to learn from Zhang Xiaobao. After all, they could be considered acquaintances after meeting once. As soon as Li Yu saw Li Longji, he immediately knelt down and kowed out. This was not the etiquette of an official meeting the emperor. It was a family etiquette. Seeing Li Yu like this, Li Longji happily let him stand up. He said, You haven't seen me in 2 years, right? Yes, more than 2 years. I have been working in the county for these 2 years and have never gone back. Li Yu respectfully he sat on the side and answered. Li Longji looked at Li Yu carefully again and said, Why did you lose weight and become darker? I have been busy in the county recently, so I have to keep an eye on the outside to avoid being schemed against. The people in the county are waiting for me to lead them to a better life. It is hot outside with the wind and the sun, so it is natural for me to become darker and thinner. However, I am in better shape than before. Speaking of this, Li Yu seemed to have made a great contribution. He could not help but reply proudly. Li Longji really did not know what Li Yu was doing here. Hearing this, he asked curiously, Who dares to scheme against you? I will teach him a lesson later. Did the registrar and deputy disobey? Even though he knew that Li Longji was joking, Li Yu was still happy. He answered, It is not my officials. It is a foreign merchant who wants to cheat me of the county's resources and money. They want to turn Chongning County into a place where they can get resources for free. They are from Xinluo and are related to the Four Seas Academy. We have to be careful. Oh, were you cheated? Li Longji's interest was piqued when he heard the word lie. Recently, he had been talking to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. His words were not ordinary, especially when it came to the matter of the bank and the Yellow River Bridge. Who knew how many secrets were hidden behind it? So he was very interested in lying. Li Yu gently shook his head, leaned forward, and said in a low voice, I was almost fooled. What I mean is that we shouldn't use our status to suppress economic matters. After all, it's impossible to solve all problems with administrative means in the future. I was lucky that the other party asked me to pay 50,000 strings of coins. I did not have that much money at that time. I happened to hear that you were building a workshop with Xiaobao and Cuckoo in Shinsai County. Last time, during my birthday, you gave me 10,000 strings of coins. This time, I wanted to borrow more, and then you met Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. You got a good idea from them. Li Longji did not care that Li Yu was changing between the words me and nephew. When he heard what he said, he continued. That's right. Then, Li Yu began to tell Li Longji everything that had happened since he met Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Li Longji and the people around him were all stunned. After he finished the story, Li Yu said, Now, I have more than 30,000 strings of coins. The account in the yamen is 10 times more than before. After this year's autumn harvest, I can pay more rent to the court. I don't think the people from the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce can do anything. Besides, Xiaobao and Cuckoo are here. I will ask them what to do in the future tonight. The others nodded and agreed with Li Yu. The people from the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce could not do anything. How could they be fine after meeting Zhang Xiaobao? They would probably take revenge later. Everyone knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were like this. When they attacked their opponents, they would give them a chance. The Qianshi Chamber of Commerce got such a chance. If they did not use the contract to exempt other merchants, they would follow the contract and not take revenge. But since they did, it showed that they were up to no good. Naturally, they had to be taught a lesson. I see. Xiao Bao and the others still have time to care about you. Did they ask for anything from you? Li Longji was very surprised. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very busy in Buxin County. They had to carry out local construction, watch the tourist area, and deal with the people in Shinsai County. When they were building the workshop, they had the time to scheme against the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce. Moreover, it seemed that they were not troubled by the complicated contract at all. They continued to set up a trap and put the 150,000 jingles of the Chintra Chamber of Commerce in Chongning County. This was too amazing. It was like the remote command in Tubo. Once the plan was out, the others would follow step by step and predict the enemy first. However, he did not know what benefit Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would get this time. The two of them could not have done this for nothing, right? When Liu heard his uncle's question, he was stunned. After thinking about it, he realized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not ask for anything. So he replied, "There is no other benefit for me to give them. They said it was a friendship sponsorship. When the time comes, I just want to return the money they took out. They did not even ask for shares. I was just thinking if I should give them more when I return the money. No request. That's strange. How can there be no request? Don't return too much when you return it. Can you trust Xiaobao and Cuckoo's words? I'm looking for someone to discuss whether the two of them are scheming. Remember, even if you don't see what they are up to now, it doesn't mean that they don't have plans in the future. Yes, that's it. Maybe they were already scheming when they helped you. Don't underestimate them. Otherwise, you will be foolishly helping others count the money when you are sold." Li Longji did not believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not have any ulterior motives. They had already suffered a lot. How could they give away Fengzhou, which was a good place for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, which others would not want to go to? They had underestimated Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and sent them there. The more he thought about it, the more certain Li Longji was that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had set their eyes on Chongning County, which was so far away. It was just that they did not see it yet. Yes, I can't let them succeed. When they are ready to be promoted after the autumn harvest in Baoxing County, I can't send them here. There is no place for them in Ciizhou. Li Longji made up his mind. In fact, he did not want to harm Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He just thought that it was fun to play this kind of game with them. The more you want to do something, the more I won't let you do it. I want to see what else you have not used. Li Longji did not say what he was thinking, but Gao Lishur, who was good at observing people and knew him very well, could guess what he was thinking. He reminded him, "Your Majesty, maybe Xiaobao and Cuckoo wanted you to consider it, so they asked Childu to come here and welcome you. It's a scheme within a scheme. It's just like when they said they want a ranch in Jiannan province, but they did not train people to withstand the cold. Their target was the cold land in Hebei province. In the end, after some discussion, we gave Fengzhou to them. They immediately organized people to run the ranch there. We have to be careful." This time, Gao Lishur had to think for Li Longji. It was not that he was unwilling to side with his adopted son, but if he did, Li Longji would lose even more. He could not keep losing. Li Longji was stunned by Gao Lishur's words. He nodded and said, "Yes, we can't be fooled again. It's troublesome. Let's not talk about this first. Since you're here, I want to ask you something. Is it good or bad that there is a farmer's market here, and we don't have to pay taxes? Here, Xiaobao and Cuckoo asked people to do it? Good, of course it's good. Xiaobao and Cuckoo will not harm a people." Liu followed Li Longji's gaze and knew that it was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan who did it. He immediately agreed. How could they not do it? Haven't you thought about it? If the people do business here and don't pay taxes, how can the county earn money? Li Longji asked again. Liu understood. It turned out that he was thinking about this matter. If it was in the past, he would not have understood. But now, there were many merchants in Chongning County who did not have to pay taxes. At first, it seemed that the county's income had decreased, but in the end, it was more than before. I don't think it's a big deal. There are many tax-exempt merchants in Chongning County, more than Linfen County. However, the income of Chongning County, where I'm from, didn't decrease. Instead, it increased by more than 10 times. It was the same in Chongning County. When merchants came to recruit local workers, they had to pay them wages. With wages, the people would want to live a better life and buy things in the county. Those who could not afford to eat meat would have extra money to buy meat back home. There were more things to eat, so the merchants had to bring more things over. This part was not tax-exempt. It was the same in Linfen County. In the past, because it was far from the county, it was inconvenient to travel and delay the work. The people would rather let the things produced in the fields rot than to sell them. Now that they have sold their goods, their lives are better and they need more things. In this way, Linfen County's tax would only be higher, not lower. This way, they would give up one part of the tax in exchange for the people not wasting resources. They would increase the flow of goods and thus increase the consumption. They would then increase the tax from another part. Liu summed up these words himself. In the plan that Zhang Xiaobao gave him, every step was explained to him so that he could be more flexible. After seeing this many times, he naturally developed the habit of thinking from his perspective. Li Longji was happy and praised Liu. Good. You always learn a lot. You could do more things in the future. This is the importance of economic means. In the past, many people looked down on merchants. But now, because there are more merchants, the speed of the flow of goods can be faster and thus more tax can be collected. Good. In the future, you have to communicate with Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo often. Learn more and ask more questions. After you have taken care of Chongning, I'll arrange more important things for you to do. Nephew understands. Liu nodded in response. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had no idea that they were being watched, were cooking and answering Xiao Chong's questions. It was not easy for Xiao Chong to see Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in the kitchen. He had to change his clothes and was forced to take a bath. His fingernails were cleaned, and his mouth was pried open to see if there were any false teeth. What if he brought in poison? After being tormented for a while, Xiao Chong was finally let in. Even so, there was still someone standing at the entrance of the kitchen, staring at him. This was all because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had recently stopped allowing others to test their food for poison. When they brought the food over, the two of them would eat it together with Li Longji. If they were poisoned, everyone would be poisoned together. No one would be able to escape, so there was no need to worry about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It would be different if an outsider came in. Young Master, Master Li has already ordered people to plant willows and bamboos, according to your instructions. He also bought the grass and the stalks after today's autumn harvest. What's the next step? Xiao Chong stood there obediently, not daring to move closer to the pot. Zhang Xiaobao's plan was ruined after the planting of the willows, so he had to ask about the next step. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had been cooking every day and were tired of it. Today, they planned to do something simpler. They first made the braised pork, then stewed it with eggplant, green onions, carrots, and other ingredients. Unfortunately, there were no green peppers, tomatoes, or potatoes, so they could only use other ingredients to replace them. Zhang Xiaobao put a cabbage into the pot and looked at the fire. He stopped and wiped his hands on his apron. He said to Xiao Chong, "Things will be simple in the future. There are only so many people in the county. Those who have land will find odd jobs when they are free. Digging and mining require manpower. Weaving also requires manpower. There will definitely not be enough manpower. What if there is not enough? Outsiders will come to Chongning to find work when they see an opportunity. It doesn't matter if they are permanent residents or come to Chongning to find odd jobs when they are not busy. They will all spend money in Chongning. When the time comes, you just need to organize them well. Remember, don't let the locals bully the outsiders, and don't let the people who hire them deliberately lower their wages. It's best to set a standard. When the county has more money, there will be interns and doctors from Dei Hospital coming here to open a clinic. You can count the locals in the county and give them free medical treatment. Also, you can open a school. Every year, there will be a lot of graduates, enough to teach the children. I don't need to say more, right? No need to say more. I know. Actually, I should have thought of this myself. Xiao Chong agreed. There was nothing else to say. It was just another place where the people in the county could live better lives. The county could pay more taxes to the court. Those who should leave their names would do so, and those who should work harder would do so. However, Xiao Chong couldn't see how Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could benefit from this. In terms of reputation, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were already famous enough. In terms of money, the two of them didn't participate in this, so they couldn't make any money at all. With that thought in mind, Little Worm asked a question. Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei smiled and said, "We'll talk about the future later. Not everything needs to be repaid. How can we avoid fortune and misfortune when it comes to the survival of a country?" These words made Xiao Chong suddenly feel that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were like saints. Only Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that they couldn't help Li Yu for free and not ask for anything in return. Wouldn't that be stupid? They were just thinking about the long term. The stew took a lot of time. By the time the people on the other boats had started to eat and Xiao Bei came over with a hungry stomach, the stew was ready. Xiao Chong didn't have the right to eat with them, so he could only eat with the people on the boat. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ordered a large pot of stew to be placed on the table where Li Longji was going to eat. Everyone had their own bowl. If they wanted to eat, they could have someone serve them. The main dish was steamed rolls and a few small salted vegetables. Li Longji still didn't find anyone to accompany him. For example, he hadn't seen Wu Huifei for several days. During the meal, Li Longji didn't ask for anything like not talking while eating or sleeping. They just talked and asked what they should. This led to the question of Zhang Xiaobao's future plans to issue a currency. Xiaobao, tell me, what do you plan to use as a currency in the future? Make it difficult for others to copy and release? Li Longji felt that the stew was too bland, so he asked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao had been waiting for several days, wondering when Li Longji would ask. Now that Li Longji asked, he replied, "Your Majesty, there's something called alchemical fire oil. It's possible to make something else from it. This subject isn't skilled enough and only knows the general idea. I need more craftsmen to cooperate with me. At that time, if this technology isn't released, no one will be able to copy it. I estimate that it will take several years. Also, when the banks are more or less established, a temporary solution is to find a special dye and use this dye to leave patterns on specially pressed paper. This will replace the current cloth and silk." When Zhang Xiaobao said this, he glanced at Wang Wan. Wang Wan continued, "The place where the money is made has to be separated from the place where the money is issued. The place where the money is made doesn't care how the money is used, only the amount is controlled. The people who issue the money are not allowed to do the same. When the time comes, we'll use Zhang Xiaobao's and Zhang Xiaobao's businesses as a trial. We'll use that kind of money to buy things from Zhang Xiaobao's and Wang family stores. At the same time, the banks can use copper coins to exchange for other people's money. Right now, the value of copper coins isn't as high as the value of the currency it produces. When the time comes, no one will be willing to use copper to make money. Also, there could be a restriction on the items sold by Zhang Xiaobao's and Wang family's businesses. That is, they can only use paper money to buy things, including daily necessities and luxury goods. If possible, we can work together with other merchants. The imperial court also collects paper money when collecting taxes. Other than Xiao Bei and the others who didn't care about such a big matter and worked hard to fill their stomachs, everyone else put down their chopsticks and thought carefully about this matter. After thinking for a while, Old Man Pai spoke first. "Do we have to use the goods sold as a guarantee? Can't we just use copper coins as a guarantee?" This question hit the nail on the head. What was used as a guarantee was very important. In other words, it was the gold standard or the copper standard. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had also discussed this issue. If it was the gold standard, the most likely possibility was that the gold would be suddenly exchanged by people with bad intentions. At that time, there would be a shortage of gold, forcing the people who issued the currency to give up on the exchange of gold and change it to a free market form of currency exchange. What did that mean? It was very likely that people would use financial means to reduce the value of the newly issued currency, making the currency worthless. This would cause people with paper money to want to use the fastest speed to exchange for the money. In this way, the more they exchanged, the less valuable the money would become and the lower the value. When the time came, people with bad intentions would use this opportunity to buy and sell copper coins from the banks. Then, they would privately produce copper coins to exchange for paper money. If they used the paper money to buy things or pay taxes, would the shops and the imperial court accept it? What kind of currency would they accept? Therefore, this definitely wouldn't do. Zhang Xiaobao then explained the situation to Li Longji and the others. Li Longji's chopsticks trembled as he listened. Although he was usually very calm, at this time, his forehead was sweating. Old Man Pai and the others did not have a good time either. They all felt that their mouths were dry. After a while, the charcoal under the pot that kept the stew warm gradually went out. Only then did everyone recover one after another. When they looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan again, the look in their eyes was even more different than before. Liu rubbed his numb face with his hands and said, "It's all thanks to Xiaobao and Cuckoo that they are from Tang. It's all thanks to us." Even if the others did not say it out loud, they admitted it in their hearts. If they were from another country, they would naturally not help Tang solve the problem of the cloth. The scariest thing was that they hid their identity and opened a bank to lure Tang's imperial court to use copper or gold to stabilize the value of the paper money. When the time came, they would use the method that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said, and Tang would be in chaos. Since such a terrible thing had not happened yet, it could be avoided. Gao Lishur pondered for a while and then asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, are you saying that we can use goods to stabilize the value of the paper money?" "No, we can't do that with goods because our goods also require raw materials. If the supplier of raw materials changes the price of the paper money, especially when the price of the paper money rises, there's a possibility that the paper money will be affected by other people. We can use technology to maintain the value of the paper money. By gradually releasing the technology for civilian use, we can let merchants use the paper money to buy things. They will take the initiative to protect the value of the paper money. This is because they don't want others to have this technology. Monopoly is the only way to make money. In order to maintain the value of the goods produced by this technology, they have to take the initiative to protect the importance of the technology. Naturally, they have to protect the value of the paper money. Therefore, good craftsmen who can participate in all kinds of research have to sign a contract with the imperial court. They are not allowed to leak the information, and they will even lose their freedom before the technology they are researching becomes outdated. Of course, this period will not be too long. It could be 3 years or 5 years. At that time, they will regain their freedom and receive a large amount of compensation. Zhang Xiaobao chose technology as the exchange rule to balance the value of the paper money. Is 3 to 5 years really feasible? Gao Lishur asked again. Chapter 759. After Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, no one continued to ask. Before they had eaten much, Li Longji and Wei Wei nodded and began to eat. The others also followed suit. Otherwise, if they waited for the emperor to finish eating, the meal would be over. They couldn't possibly let the emperor wait for them to eat, right? Xiao Bei and the others did not participate in the matters of the adults. While others were talking, they were diligently eating. At this time, they were already full and ran off to play elsewhere. After playing, they still had to go back to do homework and consolidate what they had learned in the morning so that they could listen to the story the next day. Although no one spoke, it did not mean that they did not think about this matter. Old Man Pai had been with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family for the longest time, so he had more contact with things than the others. He always felt that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang had spent so much effort to come up with this plan. After such a long time, they did not dare to open banks everywhere immediately. It was definitely not as simple as just replacing silk and copper coins. Although this new currency was indeed a big deal, it depended on who came up with it. Now, there were also flying coins used in large transactions, all relying on the reputation of the merchants. If it was just like this, Zhang Xiaobao would not be Zhang Xiaobao. Could it be that this currency has a greater use? Can it be of more help to the Tang Empire? Old Man Pai thought as he ate a few mouthfuls. Beside him, Old Man Yao was also thinking hard about this problem. What was the difference between this currency and the copper and silk coins of the past? It looked the same, but it was just a replacement. It made the loss of the silk disappear, but he always felt that something was wrong. The meal was finished in such an atmosphere. Just as he ordered the dishes to be cleaned up and replaced with tea, Zhang Shuo was not in a hurry to return to his cabin to deal with official business. Instead, he asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, is there any other benefit to replacing copper and silk with paper money that you haven't mentioned? If that's the case, the copper coins don't need to be replaced, and can be depreciated. Others will see that there's no profit and won't fake it. When Zhang Shuo asked this question, his eyes were fixed on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He was afraid that the two of them would not answer. Who asked him to have a conflict with the two of them? Zhang Xiaobao was not that petty. Political conflicts were normal as long as they did not affect the livelihood of the people and were not direct attacks. It was not good to have only one voice in a country. It was easy for problems to arise. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's question and seeing the surrounding people looking at them, Zhang Xiaobao looked at everyone once and signaled to his godfather. Gao Lisher hurriedly drove the palace maids, eunuchs, and bodyguards to one side. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao so cautious, Li Longji and the others couldn't help but feel nervous. Just what kind of danger was it that made Zhang Xiaobao not even tolerate palace maids and eunuchs? After carefully looking at everyone and feeling that there was nothing wrong, Zhang Xiaobao said, "Lord Zhang asked a good question. This matter is not just a matter of replacing. The first is to change copper and silk from currency to resources needed in daily life. The value of silk will decrease. By doing so, the people will be able to have more clothes to wear and more utensils to use, satisfying the needs of the people of the Great Tang. This is an extremely important matter. Does Lord Zhang agree?" Zhang Shuan nodded in agreement. Zhang Xiaobao continued to lecture the crowd. In truth, it is to let the people get used to using paper money. Of course, if small amounts of paper money are easily damaged due to circulation, when the steam press is made, we can use iron to press them. This way, we can reduce the amount of money that can be recycled. Just like silk, once it was worn out to a certain extent, the imperial court would collect it back through taxation and would never release it again. The money that was stamped out, if it was made by hand without a stamping machine, would be very laborious. The amount of fake money that could be made in a day would be less than what a craftsman would earn with normal work. This way, no one would be bored enough to make fake money for fun. The benefits of using paper money are that it is easy to carry around, and it is also very convenient to deposit and withdraw money from banks. If the people are willing to use money to buy all kinds of things instead of using things to exchange for things, the imperial court will be able to save a lot of trouble when it comes to taxation. Lord Zhang, do you agree? Yes. Zhang Shuan nodded in agreement. Indeed, if all transactions were done using the same type of paper money, taxation would be much easier. After all, if someone used 2 jin of eggs to buy salt from a merchant, the imperial court would collect a few eggs as tax. If they didn't collect it, they would have to collect the merchant's money. A merchant selling salt not only needed to sell salt, but also other things. This was the case now. It was truly chaotic, and the price of eggs was not always the same. Today, 2 eggs were 1 copper coin, and tomorrow, 5 eggs could be 2 copper coins. Thus, local taxation was also very unstable. There would be more and less, and it was very difficult to control. The others expressed their agreement. At this time, Zhang Juling asked, "Is there anything else besides this? If this works, Xiao Bao and the others will have done a great service. Then let's talk about the bank. With the appearance of paper money, transactions are convenient, but there still needs to be a corresponding organization to help keep it. For example, if you want to do business and need 10,000 strings of coins, then the biggest note is 100 strings of coins. It is very easy to lose, so you can save it and keep it in the bank. In the early stage, the bank will continue to keep the silk and copper coins and also be responsible for the exchange of gold and silver. In the later stage, it will not be like this. In the early stage, the bank will still need to collect a certain amount of money as a storage fee. But when the paper money comes out, there will be no need to collect a storage fee. When you deposit 100 strings of coins, when you withdraw it, it will also be 100 strings of coins. This time, the one who spoke was not Zhang Xiaobao, but Wang Wan. She told everyone about the matter that she and Zhang Xiaobao had discussed. When everyone heard this, they couldn't immediately ask. They needed to understand the process. After thinking for a while, no matter how much they thought, they couldn't understand why Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would open a bank without collecting any fees. Could it be that they were just doing a good deed? Now, There were also places that specialized in exchanging copper coins, but when exchanging, they would need to collect a sum of money. With this kind of doubt, Yuan Rong, who had also come over, asked, "If you did as you said, wouldn't you lose money? Even pawn shops would have to lower the price." Right now, the places that specialize in exchanging copper coins wouldn't lose money even if they didn't collect any money. This is because they would use a portion of the money to do other transactions. This is borrowing other people's money to do business. They just need to worry about not losing money. There is a very common calculation method here. After the deposit and withdrawal stabilizes, there will be a portion of the money that will never be taken out by others. Unless there's a currency crisis and someone runs on the bank, then this portion of the money will belong to the bank. The bank can directly take it out to do business and can also lend it to others with interest. This is what we want to talk about later. In the end, not only will the people who deposit the money not have to spend any storage fees, they will also be able to receive interest from a bank. However, this interest will be much lower than the interest from a bank because the bank will have to bear the risk of lending out the money. Zhang Xiaobao explained the benefits of the bank. When the surrounding people heard this, their eyes widened and their mouths fell open like Weiwei's. Then doesn't that mean that if you open a bank, a lot of money will belong to you? Yuan Rong asked. Yes, of course. Otherwise, why would anyone open a bank? This is a matter of personal interest. At worst, when the time comes to establish a national bank, the imperial court will also earn a bit. There are also things that are beneficial to the Great Tang. By adjusting the reserve funds and interest rates, the value of the Great Tang's goods can be affected. For example, if my reserve funds are only 40% and I have 2 million strings of coins, then I can lend out 2 million strings of coins this year. Some of this 2 million strings of coins can be used to invest, while some can be used to buy things. In that case, the Great Tang will have an additional 2 million strings of coins. The value of the goods will definitely rise. If 2 million strings of coins doesn't have much of an effect on the Great Tang, then what about 12 million strings of coins? This way, the price of goods can be adjusted. So how can the price of goods fall? One reason is to increase the interest rate of a loan so that people will borrow less. However, this has its disadvantages as well. It might not really cause the price of goods to fall. One reason is that the profits of the bank will decrease, and the other reason is that the borrowers will transfer this portion to the goods, causing the price of the goods to rise. Thus, at this time, the interest rate of the deposits has to be increased correspondingly. Otherwise, inflation will rise too quickly, and the currency in circulation will become worthless. Wang Wan explained a little more. Just like before, everyone fell silent and pondered. This time, it was Ilongji who asked, "From the looks of it, the depositors will have more money in the end, and the borrowers will allow the bank to have more money. However, the copper coins and silk that should have been used as currency no longer exist. Doesn't this mean that the value of money will become less and less, but it will still continue to inflate?" Zhang Xiaobao nodded. "Your Majesty is wise. That is indeed the case. However, this inflation is the inflation of the entire Great Tang. No one will lose anything, and it will also accelerate the development of the economy. The value created is definitely more worth it than the danger of inflation. If there is no mistake, the overall situation is the same." Li Longji nodded. Thinking about it, that was indeed the case. Zhang Xiaobao continued, "Another advantage is that we can issue national bonds, which means we can borrow money from the people. When the time comes, the interest will be higher than normal deposits, and the country will have money to do other things. When the time comes, for example, 3 years or 5 years, we can return the money to the people with interest. Then, what if the country loses money when it uses the money to do something? For example, in terms of infrastructure, there is no profit to be made." Li Longji tried to keep up with the pace. Infrastructure will never lose money. When there is a direct monetary loss, there will be compensation through taxes. As for investments, it doesn't matter as well. We can just borrow more money to return the money to the people and continue to raise the interest rate. As long as the interest rate is higher than the bank deposit, the people will be willing to lend money. Your Majesty, you just said that the currency is always inflating. If we continue to borrow money, the money that the people receive in the end might not be as valuable as before. If we continue to develop in this way, perhaps some people will feel that we are always owing people money and that there will be problems one day. This is why Cuckoo and I need so many craftsmen. We can make better use of resources. Right now, every moo can produce 4 dan of grain. As we continue to research, we can produce 10 dan of grain per moo. This will inevitably lead to the depreciation of grain. As long as the technology can keep up, the depreciation of the currency is actually the depreciation of goods. The final result is balance. In other words, by increasing production, we can use the depreciation of the goods to offset the depreciation of the currency. Zhang Xiaobao had to say more, even though it wasn't easy for others to understand. After waiting for the tea to be changed, Zhang Shua thought it through and said, in other words, as long as it is a non-physical currency, it will have to face depreciation. If we don't want problems to happen, we have to work hard to develop that productivity you spoke of. That is to increase the output of the land and make better things. But there will be a day when we reach a certain level, right? For example, if we dig up all the coal, all the alchemical fire oil, and all kinds of mines, what will happen to our descendants? When that day comes, there will naturally be more ways. We don't have it here, but there may be more on the moon. Oh, it's not easy to collect from the stars. Let's talk about what's in front of us first. We can collect less from ourselves and go to other countries, such as Xinyuan Island, Japan, and Xinhua. Zhang Xiaobao felt that Zhang Shua was still not good in this aspect, because Zhang Shua didn't expect that one day people could casually go to the moon and wait for the resources to be depleted. The technology will be more advanced, and they could expand. Moreover, no matter what the resource was, the process of depletion was always balanced. In other words, there was no such thing as a non-renewable resource. The so-called non-renewable resource was because the technology had not reached that level. Otherwise, it would be like the black hole that was created after a star exploded. Why would everything only exist in the form of mass? It meant that any material could be converted into another. The black hole could also create a new star. This was the process of exchange. It was believed that the technology would reach that day. At this point, everyone felt that there was nothing more to ask. They could only wait and see if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan opened the bank and see if it was as they said. Li Yu also timely proposed to go to Chongning County. Li Longji really wanted to see what Chongning County had become. If Li Yu didn't say that it was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan who gave the idea to do something there, Li Longji really wouldn't go. But as long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were involved, Li Longji couldn't help but want to see with his own eyes if Chongning County had really become prosperous. If so, it meant that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to be protected well, because the two of them were more valuable than hundreds of officials. They could easily make a place prosperous. What was there to worry about in the Tang Empire? Besides, Wang Wan could fight. Since Li Longji was on the move, the people he would be protecting naturally wouldn't be Li Yu's few subordinates. The Golden Guards would have to follow him, and the other guards couldn't be left out as well. In order to protect Li Longji, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan even transferred 30 people from the Zero Squad over. The two of them were fully armed and accompanied Li Longji. Those who didn't know would think that Li Longji was doing this to get close to them, because no matter how much older they were than children of the same age, they still didn't look mature. No matter how one looked at them, they still looked like children. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan still had yellow hair around their mouths. Who would have thought that these two children would have such strong fighting strength? Not only could they fight against one of Li Longji's personal guards, but they could also command them. Li Longji also thought the same. With the two children by his side, they could numb people. Old Man Pai and the other two also had to go. They were in charge of looking after Xiao Bei and the others. There were also many guards. When Li Longji got off the ship, the officials here thought that he was going to the provincial capital. They were both happy and worried. They were happy because it would be good for the emperor to go. He could improve his reputation and let the emperor see them. They were worried because they didn't make any preparations. If something went wrong, Not only would they not be praised by the emperor, they might not even be able to keep their heads on their necks. However, the result disappointed them. They were also glad that the emperor didn't plan to go to Linfen. Instead, he planned to go to Changning County. The fleet left, and the people who were doing business looked on curiously. There were merchants who wanted to take advantage of the fact that there was no tax to be collected, and when they saw the flag of the fleet, they immediately knew who had come. They were nervous and excited, and showed off their knowledge to the people who were looking at the fleet curiously, telling them that the current emperor had come. After knowing this, the people were dumbfounded. If the emperor was going to go, he should have cleared away the people around him. Why was the emperor here when they were still doing business? Was he not afraid of encountering danger? When they thought of this, the people suddenly felt moved. The emperor didn't clear away the people here. This meant that the emperor trusted the people here and trusted them. Li Longji didn't know that asking Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to arrange a trip would win the hearts of the people. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did it on purpose. At this time, there were no missiles or sniper rifles. Who could hurt the people on the ship? It was better to let the people know how much the emperor trusted them. If it was someone else, they would have cleared them away long ago. Liu deliberately prepared a car that he thought was very luxurious for Li Longji. In the end, Li Longji didn't get into his car at all. Instead, he got into the car that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan prepared for him. This kind of car was more comfortable. In order to let Li Longji gain more sincere hearts, Zhang Xiaobao removed the roof of the car and turned it into an open one. It was convenient for Li Longji to see the scenery outside, and the people outside could faintly know where the emperor was. Of course, there were many people in plain clothes who entered the crowd, especially those who didn't look like the people of Tang. The people of Tang were very loyal, and no one wanted to kill Li Longji. Li was sweating profusely. He was worried that some kind of danger would suddenly appear. Following beside Li Longji, he moved closer to Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Xiaobao, do you want to kill me? What if Uncle is frightened? What should I do? How can he be frightened? What's more, even if something unexpected happens, His Majesty won't be frightened." Who is His Majesty? He's the emperor who dismounted to rule the country and pacified the people. Zhang Xiaobao said in a loud voice. Hearing this, Li Longji was very happy. He chuckled and said to Liu, don't be afraid. Even if something small happens, it has nothing to do with you. Besides, I have Xiaobao and Cuckoo by my side. Look, the people are so peaceful. Li Longji was still holding the binoculars in his hand. He looked around, and none of the people came forward. Someone took the lead and shouted, "Long live the emperor," and knelt down. The commoners also followed suit and knelt down. This made Li Longji feel even more comfortable. He even waved at the commoners around him, even if they couldn't see him. The speed of the team was not fast. It would be dark by the time they reached Changning County. Liu followed them and was worried. At the beginning, the three people led Xiao Bei and the others. From time to time, they would tell Xiao Bei and the others about the situation here. While they were walking, Zhang Shua came over and said to Old Man Pai, "Sir Bai, how about we think about the matter of the bank that Xiao Bao mentioned?" "Oh, what else is there to say? Haven't we already asked what we need to ask?" Old Man Pai was puzzled. "No, I suddenly thought of something. Many of the countries around us are using our money. If the bank opens and new banknotes come out, the other countries will exchange a lot of the banknotes. When the time comes, they will suddenly come to buy our things. Our prices will suddenly increase. When prices increase, money will naturally depreciate. What should we do? Don't we sell our things to others? For example, Tubo. They use their things to exchange for our money. Then, they let people spread the news that our money is worthless and that we should use copper coins. At the same time, they keep buying copper coins. Then, they use copper to make our Kaiyuan Tongbao to exchange for a large amount of banknotes. Using banknotes to buy things, wouldn't that be a mess? Now, I reckon that many people have thought of this method. It's all Zhang Xiaobao's fault. If he wants to make a game, just make a game. Why does he have to teach others other skills?" Zhang Shua said nervously. The complaint in his words was very obvious. He originally wanted to tell Li Longji, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were there. Therefore, he found Old Man Pai and wanted to tell the emperor this through Old Man Pai. Old Man Pai listened to Zhang Shuo and looked at his expression. When he finished, he said, "You're right. I'll mention it to the emperor later, but I think there's no need to worry. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan will take care of this matter." Old Man Pai obviously knew what Zhang Shuo was thinking, but he still agreed. After all, he also didn't know what to do when faced with such a situation. After the team left Linfen County and entered Chongning County, Li Longji's view immediately changed. The most direct thing he saw was a wide road that extended forward. He nodded and asked Liu, "What's the matter? Did you specially build this road to bring me here?" "No, this road was also going to be built. But since you're here, I built it first. This place can be connected to Linfen County. There's also the Fengshui River there. It's convenient to build a road for transportation." Liu answered honestly. Li Longji knew that it was actually because of him. But after all, this road was built first, so he asked, "Did it mess up your arrangement in Chongning County?" "No, it didn't mess up at all. You'll know when we move forward. There's going to be a bamboo processing workshop here. The things from Linfen County can be processed faster, and it'll give the people in Linfen County who can't find part-time jobs a place to work." Liu continued to answer. "That's good. Since Xiao Bao gave you the idea, you'll have to do it properly," Li Longji said with satisfaction. "Yes, I'll do my best," Liu answered respectfully. At this moment, Old Man Bai also came over and told Li Longji about the matter that Zhang Shuo had mentioned earlier. Li Longji turned to look at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao sighed. He wanted to take a break, but now there was another problem. "Your Majesty, Wang Wan and I have already considered this matter. We're just afraid that they won't use our money. It'll be better if they use our money. When the time comes, we'll make a rule that only our money can buy our things. If our things are better than theirs, they'll ship their goods here to sell. Tubo is only a small country, so they won't be able to cause much of an impact. Even if they don't have money, we can sell them national debt and let them use resources to exchange for it. We can also use the form of land leases. In any case, the Tang dynasty's currency must be popular in the surrounding countries. We can let them not use the Tang dynasty's money and not the other country's money. If a country's currency is controlled by another country, what do you think the consequences will be, Your Majesty?" Zhang Xiaobao couldn't understand. Do the people of this era not have any ideas in this aspect? Understand. The consequences will be that if two countries use the same currency and we don't give them money, their daily lives will be troublesome. This time, it wasn't Li Longji who spoke, but Liu. Wang Wan also spoke. "What do you mean by not giving them money?" "It's us printing more money to buy things from them. We'll buy their things and then sell them things at a higher price. Do you understand now? Especially when it comes to national debt. As long as our productivity develops faster than theirs, our ability to withstand financial fluctuations will be stronger. Even if we depreciate at the same time, their country's losses will be greater. The more they buy our national debt, the more they will lose. When the time comes, we'll use our technology to produce things and sell them at a higher price. This is a form of plunder." Liu nodded. He pondered for a moment and asked, "Then what if they also have their own money? Do we have to exchange money with them?" "Of course, we have to exchange," Zhang Xiaobao said. "Then what if they just casually print money?" Liu asked again. "That is, originally they used 5 copper coins to exchange for 1 copper coin of ours. Now that they have printed more, they use 10 copper coins to exchange for 1 copper coin of ours. Do you understand what I'm saying? If they really dare to do that, they'll be finished. Actually, even if they don't do that, they'll still be finished. As long as Cuckoo and I open up the bank, they won't be able to do anything." Zhang Xiaobao was very much looking forward to that moment. He would be able to display his abilities and wouldn't have to restrain himself like he did now to not make a move against Great Tang. Li Longji was also listening. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he asked, "Xiaobao, are you saying that once you open up the bank and produce paper money or something similar, you can make a move against the surrounding countries? What effect will that have?" Wang Wan replied, "It can cause a country to completely collapse. It can cause its people to lose their hearts and morale." "It's that powerful?" Liu was shocked. Good, good. We must open the bank as soon as possible. We will be waiting for that day to come. When the time comes, we will send troops to attack. Li Longji believed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's words. Wang Wan continued, Your Majesty, when that time comes, you won't be the one sending troops. Instead, you'll have to defend. The other side will definitely attack. This is a way to divert the internal conflict. If they don't fight, they'll really be finished. If they fight, there's still a chance. As long as they defend, it won't take too long. In just 2 years, they'll be finished. If Xiao Bao uses some tricks, perhaps it won't take 2 years. In 1 year, they won't need to send troops. They can use economic means to take over the land. That's right. When the time comes, we could just buy land from them. If their people don't have land, they'll have to leave their own country and run to other countries. We'll send people to reorganize them. In the future, they'll be Tang's citizens. Zhang Xiaobao continued. Li Longji was stunned. When he looked at Zhang Xiaobao, he suddenly felt like he was meeting Zhang Xiaobao for the first time. He had never heard of such a thing. This was what it meant to subdue an enemy without a battle. His economic means were so powerful. Old Man Pai wiped his sweat and turned to report to Zhang Sha. When he saw Zhang Shuo waiting, Old Man Pai said, Lord Zhang, you're worried. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's abilities are not something we can predict. The thing we're worried about is Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's trump card. The group continued to move forward. The scenery around them was getting better and better, but Li Longji was no longer in the mood to enjoy the scenery. All he could think about was what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had said. He was constantly thinking about taking over more land, but after the war in Tang, it was impossible to continue fighting. They didn't have enough people. Otherwise, he wouldn't be recuperating. However, if it was like what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had said, and they didn't need to send troops in the end and could occupy the land through economic means, why not do it? The more he thought about it, the more difficult it was for Li Longji to calm down. When the sky gradually darkened and torches were lit, he couldn't help but say to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, immediately arrange for the money bank. There's no need to wait for the future. Make the preparations now. Wherever you want to open the bank, you can choose any craftsman you like. You must quickly produce money that can't be counterfeited. The two of you will be in charge of this matter. If anyone tries to stop you, the two of you can decide for yourselves. We only want to hear the result. Li Longji had truly gone crazy. He didn't care how much trouble Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's bank would cause. He gave the two of them a lot of authority, and the meaning behind his words couldn't be any clearer. That was, no matter who tried to get a share of the benefits and tried to stop them, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could kill them first. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan glanced at each other. They had been waiting for this moment. They had finally obtained authority, but this bit of authority wasn't enough. They needed more strength. Thus, Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Longji, Your Majesty, the matter of a bank and money production isn't that simple. It requires a lot of cooperation. Furthermore, this subject doesn't know who to report to when the time comes. Hearing that there were still difficulties, Li Longji closed his eyes and thought for a while. He said, as long as it's related to a bank and money production, the two of you can do it. Even if you need to use some land, just bring it over. Who do you want to report to? Naturally, it's to us. All right, this subject will definitely do it well. It will take at most 5 years, but at least 3 years, Zhang Xiaobao said happily after receiving the authorization. Li Longji really wanted to hear Zhang Xiaobao say 3 to 5 months, but he also knew how difficult it would be. At the very least, he didn't know how to do it now. He could only wait. Fortunately, he was still young and could afford to wait for 3 to 5 years. After entering the county, Li Longji saw countless lanterns and colorful flags. Only then did he put his thoughts back on this trip. He had to show him around and talk to the local officials. Seeing that it was getting late, he didn't ask Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to continue cooking. Liu had already prepared the food. In the beginning, Liu wanted to make more food so that it would look very sumptuous. However, after contacting Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the two of them told him that he shouldn't do that. It didn't need a lot, just something special. The emperor couldn't eat too much. Liu trusted Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. So he did as they said. Sure enough, when they were eating, Li Longji praised Li Yu for being frugal and not wasting anything. Li Longji praised Li Yu for being frugal and not wasting anything. Night fell. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan no longer had to follow Li Longji around. They returned to their temporary courtyard and told Xiaobei and the others a story. After that, they washed up and lay on the bed. The two of them had not slept on a bed for a long time and were not used to it. They could not fall asleep immediately. Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao's arm over and rested her head on it as she asked, Xiaobao, now that you've gotten the authority, what's the next step? The window was still open, and they could see the crescent moon outside. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the crescent moon and replied, What else can we do? Tell Lu Zhou to get in touch with the surrounding provinces as soon as possible. Tell them to learn from Lu Zhou's method of construction. If they want to be quick, we can lend them some money first or invest in them directly. However, if we invest in them, they'll have to exempt us from taxes for at least 2 years. Naturally, the excuse is to set up a bank there. If we don't make the local economy flourish, how can so many merchants be willing to go there? If the merchants don't go, the bank is useless. When the time comes, if any official dares to stop us, no matter who they are, we'll deal with them. If we want to open banks all over Tang, we'll have to open restaurants all over Tang. We have to keep up with our business. Only then will we be able to minimize the impact when we have to withdraw large amounts of money from other regions. That's good as well. We'll have to hurry. It's best if we can get the other merchants to join us. Otherwise, we won't be able to do that with our financial resources. It'll be even better if we can get the local gentry to join us. If we run out of money when the time comes, we can ask them to fork out a portion of the money to pay for it. Wang Wan added. Both of them knew what would happen to the Zhang family and the Wang family once this matter was settled. Zhang Xiaobao yawned. All right, we'll make the arrangements when we set off tomorrow. Bring Li Sun and the other merchants who are working with us along. However, we won't let them interfere with the bank. We can only let them follow us to the restaurants and supermarkets. Chapter 760. When Li Longji opened his eyes, he saw Wu Huifei dozing off beside the couch, and Gao Lishir looking as though nothing had happened. Gao Lishir was the first to react. He hurriedly called the palace maids and eunuchs over to serve him while he went to arrange breakfast. Wu Huifei was also alarmed. Just as she was about to greet him, she was stopped by Li Longji. Beloved consort, you must be tired from last night. Why don't you take a nap first? In fact, Wu Huifei had already taken a nap beside the couch, but she didn't sleep well. It seemed that everyone in the imperial palace, except for the emperor, had mastered the ability to sleep at any time and wake up at any time, and it was difficult for others to notice. Seeing that the emperor had woken up, Wu Huifei prepared to ask about what happened yesterday. She wanted to know what could make the emperor and the ministers so happy. Your Majesty, this concubine isn't sleepy. Your Majesty's complexion is so good today. Did you have a good dream? Wu Huifei couldn't directly ask the emperor what he said to them yesterday, so she could only beat around the bush. Li Longji didn't think too much about it. While the others were busy, he took Wu Huifei into his arms and said happily, I didn't have a good dream last night, but I felt like I was in a dream during the day. Could it be that your Majesty didn't rest well yesterday? It's all this concubine's fault, Wu Huifei said in shock. No, it has nothing to do with my beloved concubine. I had a good rest yesterday. Li Longji chuckled. Wu Huifei snuggled in Li Longji's arms and patted her chest. She asked curiously, could it be that your Majesty saw immortals yesterday? Yes, although I didn't see immortals in the heavens, I saw little immortals in the mortal world. They were Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Hearing Wu Huifei's question, Li Longji became even happier. In the future, he would just have to wait to take over other people's territory. Wu Huifei looked at Li Longji helplessly and said, How can your Majesty say that Xiaobao and Cuckoo are immortals? No matter how great their abilities are, it's still your Majesty's kindness. What new ideas did they come up with? Yes, this is our benevolence, not only to them, but also to the people of the great Tang. Yesterday, the two of them mentioned a major matter. At this point, Li Longji intentionally paused and looked at Wu Huifei, waiting for her to ask. Your Majesty, what's the big matter? Quickly tell me, so that I can be happy with your Majesty. How could Wu Huifei not know what to do? She immediately acted coquettishly. Li Longji enjoyed Wu Huifei's reaction and continued. The two of them want to open a bank. It's like this, without holding anything back. Li Longji told Wu Huifei about what Zhang Xiaobao had told Wang yesterday. After he finished, he had a smug look on his face. Wu Huifei was shocked. No matter how capable she was, no matter how big of a situation she had seen, she would never have thought that a bank could do so many things and even destroy a country. At first, she only thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang wanted to open a bank to make money. But now she knew that there were so many people behind it. This was not ordinary. From what she heard from the Emperor was very concerned about this matter. If she directly found fault with the two of them, the Emperor would definitely be unhappy. Wu Huifei had been thinking about how to use this opportunity to attack Zhang Xiaobao and Wang. For example, she could mention to the Emperor that Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo wanted to take the Great Tang's money to their own families, and that they had bad intentions. Now it seemed that this plan would not work because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang had talked about the pros and cons, and they did not intend to take a lot of money for their own families. Otherwise, it would have been better not to talk about it. Your Majesty, Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo are really different. They can come up with such a vicious idea. Oh no, such a useful idea. I just don't know if it will work. Wu Huifei's evaluation of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang was indeed vicious. If they were not vicious, how could they come up with such a plan? The surrounding countries might not have thought that someone in the Great Tang was going to attack them. Li Longji also admitted that Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo's plan was vicious, but that was only for outsiders. It was good for the people of the Great Tang. Hearing Wu Huifei's words, he smiled and said, It may be a little troublesome, but I have already given them the authority. As long as it has to do with opening a bank and printing money, they can do it themselves. When the time comes, they can just tell me. Whoever tries to stop them will be dealt with. Your Majesty is really a good emperor. I think Zhang Xiaobao and Wang will do their best to do this. But Your Majesty, if there are too many people who oppose or want to take advantage of this, will Your Majesty really let them deal with them? Wu Huifei suddenly had an idea, so she said to the Emperor, Of course, whoever stops them will be dealt with. Well, I am hungry. My beloved concubine, eat with me. Li Longji had made up his mind. His stomach suddenly growled, and he walked to the restaurant with Wu Huifei in his arms. Wu Huifei thought as she walked, If the benefits of the bank are released, there will be many people who want to take advantage of it. No matter how powerful Zhang Xiaobao and Wang are, if they offend too many people, will the Emperor be able to protect them? Besides, the people who want to take advantage of it can be the princes or the aristocratic families. Well, this matter bypasses other departments. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang are directly responsible for the Emperor. What will Zhang Shua think? What will the officials of other departments, such as the Ministry of Revenue, think? Let's see if they can work together to deal with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang. There's no need to do anything to the two of them immediately. As long as we delay them, they won't be able to open the bank and print the money. Then, in 3 to 5 years, as long as they don't make any achievements this year, the Emperor will definitely be angry. The more Wu Huifei thought about it, the more she felt that an opportunity had come. The smile on her face became more and more brilliant, making Li Longji think that Wu Huifei was happy with him. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang didn't know that Wu Huifei was thinking of a way to scheme against them. In fact, the two of them already knew that the battle with Wu Huifei wouldn't be easily extinguished. One was to defeat Wu Huifei, and the best would be to have Li Longji throw her into the cold palace. This idea was probably very difficult to achieve. There is no need to say how much Li Longji valued Wu Huifei. Otherwise, he wouldn't always want to remove Empress Wang and let Wu Huifei take the throne. Since this didn't work, they could only distance themselves and make Wu Huifei feel that they couldn't do anything. That way, things would be easier. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had been paying attention to Wu Huifei recently. Unknown dangers were the most difficult to guard against. In the morning, they ate with their younger siblings and left them to study in the inner courtyard. The two of them went to arrange things. Otherwise, the two of them would be teaching little Bei and the others in the morning. They were too busy today. Under the discussion of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, letters were written and sent to various places. They even sent a letter to the front line of Tubo's Jin Chuan. This was a major matter. If they made a move, they would have to make a move as well. Otherwise, someone might have taken advantage of them. Lu Zhou's matter was of the utmost importance. Hence, there were more things to be done. They could make a move on Xin Yuan Island now. They still had to persuade the merchants from other places to continue exploring the sea. Wang Wan rubbed her wrist that was sore from writing letters as she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Aya, it's almost noon. Let's go. I think Li Longji should be leaving soon." Zhang Xiaobao was so tired that his head was buzzing. There were too many things to consider. Even he and Wang Wan could not finish everything after working the whole morning. They still had to wait until the evening to think about it. When he heard Wang Wan's words, he put down the pen in his hand and said, "Just hang in there. We'll be fine after a few days." Lu Zhou hasn't sent any letters for half a month. I wonder how the munitions factory is doing. They can already make rear-firing bullets, but they're still lacking in terms of guns. I hope they can hurry up. Even if they did not use copper coins, they still had to prepare more gold and silver. America had already left the gold standard, but they still had a lot of gold in reserve. Moreover, there was no harm in preparing some gold. One day, they would be able to use it in electronic circuits. If a country without gold and silver wanted to make good electronic circuits, they could only buy them from other countries. Now is a good time. Let's stop mining in our country and transport them from other countries. Fortunately, there are coal and oil. We can't mine from the sea. As our industrial revolution slowly matures, we can mine the land from other countries first. When will a large amount of oil be used? When our refining technology gradually matures, we must remember not to let people from other countries get their hands on our technology. When we were developing, other countries blocked our technology for a long time. Wang Wan agreed wholeheartedly. If they could keep it a secret, they should keep it a secret. It would be best if they could occupy more land while they were still alive. When the time came, they could mine all the good ores without restraint. They would do the same, even if it was coal. Although coal was not valuable now, it was still the same. Xiao Bao, if someone really wants to take a share of the bank's business, do you think we should let them? It's easy to deal with one or two people, but if there are too many of them, can we really deal with them all? When the time comes, all the forces will join forces. Even Li Longji will have to compromise, right? Wang Wan suddenly thought of the problem that Wu Huifei also thought of. Zhang Xiaobao blinked and said to Wang Wan, we must deal with them. We don't have to worry about many people going against us. After we deal with a few people, we will cooperate with other people who want to take a share. A bank is not a restaurant. You can open it with a little money. You need to have a part of the money first. I think that as long as a bank loan appears, there will be many people who are worried about not having enough money, but have a way to get rich coming to get a loan. If they don't have a foundation, how can they get a loan? Not only do we have to pull others in, but we also have to pull the imperial court in as well. However, the businessmen who cooperated with us first can't be involved in the bank's business. If that's the case, it will make people suspect that we, who are close to each other, did something. It will be easy for people to use this as an excuse to attack us. However, after we open the bank, we can give a certain discount to those who have been cooperating with us and let them deposit their money in the bank. So that's how it is. Then, are we going to let others take a share? With our family's financial resources, it seems that we can open banks all over Great Tang. At most, we can take a share of 10%. This is still under the constant transfer of funds. There is a time difference between opening banks. Wang Wan felt that her family's share of the bank was too small. If Li Longji wasn't in such a hurry, he could have done it bit by bit. However, Li Longji wanted to see results in a short period of time. 3 to 5 years was indeed a short period of time. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't anxious about this matter at all. He chuckled and said to Wang Wan, "What was the problem that Li Yu encountered at the beginning? Isn't it just raising funds and increasing shares? We can do the same. Even if we take a share of 10%, it will be more than other people. Who has more money than us? We don't care about the money from the imperial court, but as long as other people dare to fork out money, they might take more shares in the beginning. For example, if dozens of people fork out money for a region, we might not even be able to take a share of 10%. However, we can still continue doing other business, and we will earn more money in the future. Even if each of our banks only takes a share of 5%, it won't take long for us to accumulate a lot of money. Then we can pool our money and invest in the banks one by one, diluting the shares of others." That's right. Let's do that. First, we'll open a bank and let Li Longji see hope. Then we'll squeeze the shares of others bit by bit. Is there any other good method? Wang Wan asked excitedly. There is another method. When lending money, there has to be a rule. Will they set this rule? If they really do it, the bank will easily lose money. After all, it's different from lending money in the past. We can take advantage of this loophole. For example, we can send people to look for projects and borrow money. During the estimation, we can make use of the rules. Originally, we can only borrow 1,000 strings of coins, but we can only lend 5,000 strings of coins and use the extra money to raise funds. When the time comes, we can declare bankruptcy and let the bank take back the project. In this way, whether the project is profitable or not, it doesn't matter. Or we can open a separate bank and strictly ask the local government to lend, increase the reserve ratio, and use the new bank to borrow from the old bank. Then we can raise the interest a little. This is using the old bank's money to make money for our new bank. Zhang Xiaobao said another method. No, why are you using such methods again? Wang Wan immediately rejected. That's right. I just said it. We can't go overboard even if we borrow the chicken to lay the eggs. When the time comes, we can try in other countries. There are many other methods. I haven't used them for many years, and I'm itching to use them. Zhang Xiaobao reacted. He had an agreement with Wang Wan that he could not use too harsh methods on his own country. As the two of them chatted, it was time for lunch. The team was almost done with their preparations and was ready to set off after lunch. Li Longji called Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan over and asked if the two of them had done it. After getting an affirmative answer, he had a peaceful meal. Just as the team set off and walked halfway, many people from the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came from Luoyang and found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Steward Zhang personally came and pulled Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan into a carriage. He got someone to bring over a large box and open the lock with a snap for the two of them to see. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan became nervous the moment they saw it. There were many parts in the box, and the two of them were very familiar with the functions of these parts. The two of them even drew the blueprints for the production. It was built purely by hand. Pa, 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 pa. It was quickly assembled. The parts in front of them were gone. There were 2 short guns and 2 long guns. All that was left were bullets and rods. After wiping the oil on his hands, Zhang Xiaobao touched the guns excitedly and muttered, "It's finally done. I didn't give the craftsman so much money for nothing. Such good treatment." Although they don't have personal freedom for the time being, with this thing, who would dare to use force when we trade on boats outside? Why are you so happy so early? We still don't know the shooting range and accuracy. Can the effective range of a handgun be 30 meters? I don't think so. The same goes for a rifle. Can it shoot out 1,000 meters? Find some time and find a place to test it. Unfortunately, there's no silencer. Should we let Li Longji know? Wang Wan poured a bucket of cold water on Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips. He also knew that this kind of weapon was not easy to make. Not only did it have to be made with good steel, it could only be made by hand. It was estimated that only a few could be made in a day. After saving up for a year and discounting the scraps, it would be good enough if they could form a team. Touching the handgun and the long gun, he gestured a few times and said, "As long as the trajectory of each bullet is not different, it's fine. At most, we can just get used to it and find the deviation when aiming. Who knows how many good steel pipes have been damaged by pulling the chamber? We can only make new ones. What about the bullets? It's not that easy to purify gunpowder. I estimate that 1 in 10 will fail. Steward Zhang, did you send a letter saying how many people were injured while making the bullets? Wang Wan wiped the oil off the handgun and covered the holster with her clothes. She inserted the handgun and disassembled the long gun and put it back. She asked Steward Zhang. Steward Zhang took out the letter and handed it to Wang Wan while saying, "The letter says that because they weren't familiar with it in the early stages, a few people were injured, but no one died. Little girl, can you let me see the power of this weapon? Then you can follow the team. When we reach Jinyang, Xiaobao, and I will find an excuse to go somewhere where there's no one and try it." Wang Wan took out the handgun again and stuffed the bullets into the magazine. After checking the safety and seeing that the firing pin could be blocked, she put it back in with ease. As for whether the bullets could misfire on their own, there was no need to consider this. It was impossible under normal circumstances. Unless there was an impact or it was too hot, there was no need to sell firecrackers. Steward Zhang thought for a moment and finally felt that he was still needed in Luoyang. He did not follow Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan returned, Li Longji even asked out of concern if something had happened at home. Zhang Xiaobao casually found an excuse to brush him off. How could Li Longji know that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had returned with an additional weapon? In addition, the two of them also had something in their backpacks that could shoot further than ordinary bows and arrows. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan couldn't hold it in any longer. They wanted to find a chance to test the gun. Speaking of which, the range of a handgun wasn't as good as that of a crossbow. If it was accurate, it would be able to shoot down a person within 100 meters. If it was accurate within 50 meters, it would be able to take down a person with one arrow. The only advantage of a handgun was that it could fire continuously and was convenient to carry around. Everyone returned to the boat, and the team continued forward. At this moment, they were not far from Jinyang. They would definitely reach their destination in another 10 days, and this was even when the boat was not moving that fast. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not have much time to accompany Li Longji to enjoy the scenery. As long as the two of them had time, they would perfect the bank. When lending money, there had to be an evaluation standard. Naturally, the two of them did not expect that the bank would not suffer any losses. After all, business was not something that could be decided by manpower. The most important thing was the management. This was the most difficult part, as it was impossible to prevent others from tampering with the system. After all, when the two of them were constantly perfecting the system, the things that they were worried about would still happen. In fact, the two of them were most worried about the bank's management. After receiving bribes, they would lend money to people who did not have the qualifications to lend money. When the time came, even if they killed the person, it would be useless. They would not be able to get back the money that they lost. Li Longji also knew that the two of them were busy and did not have time to spare. Thus, he spent more time with Wu Huifei. Looking at the scenery of his country and having the company of a beauty, he was very satisfied. Wu Huifei was also waiting for an opportunity. Right now, she could not let people send out letters, nor could she find Zhang Shua to sow discord. She could only wait until they reached Jinyang. Time passed very quickly. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy, and while Li Longji was enjoying himself, 8 days had passed. The team did not take 10 days. At noon today, they could see Jinyang City in the distance. According to the speed of the boat, they would be able to enter the city in 2 hours. At this time, Jinyang was already under martial law. There were not many people coming and going. Occasionally, one would appear. They were either a plainclothes officer or a relative of an official. After all, it would be too fake if the emperor did not see a single person. If he saw a few, it would be even better if he had the opportunity to talk. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also came out of the cabin. Using a telescope, they saw the situation ahead and knew that the local officials did not listen to their orders and made such arrangements in private. Now was not the time to find out who was responsible. The two of them only hoped that the local officials would not be so stupid as to make hundreds of dishes. At that time, Li Longji would think that it was arranged by the two of them. Let's go greet Li Longji first and let him understand that this is a matter of the local officials. It has nothing to do with us. Just as Zhang Xiaobao was preparing to return to the cabin, he saw that countless people had gathered outside Jinyang City. There were also people hanging things and placing things there. In addition to raising the flag, the only other thing to do was to set off firecrackers. He had to tell Li Longji in advance so that he would not be scared when the firecrackers went off. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.